for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. How you doing? How you doing? That's right. Today is Tuesday, October 23rd. 2018, and I'm tweeting during the intro. You gotta love it. You're watching me right now on the bunker cam, aren't you? 299 days into the new year, just 66 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? It's Tuesday. And tonight, I love it when she's here. Very special guest, Laura Eisenhower, is back with us. Yeah. And tonight, we're going to discuss what it's like and what we have to do to survive in this world. We're going to discuss those world events, those dark things out there, our crazy UFO community, and how to fight the darkness that seems to be the hidden agenda of the media and the world and corporate leaders. And there is none better than Laura Eisenhower to do just that. Tomorrow night, right here, Nick Redfern. He's got a new book out on abductions, what they don't want you to know. That's tomorrow night. Nick Redfern is here. Thursday night, another Fader night, open lines all night long, and I know there's lots to talk about. So that's what an amazing week last night. Yeah. Richard Dolan was here, and very open and frank discussion on what's going down in this UFO community of ours. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was good, too. That was a good conversation. One that just needed to be had. It's painful. Yeah, it's painful. You know, sometimes you just got to sit down and have that talk, and that's what we did last night. And tonight, it's Laura. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern, and I can't wait to get to Thursday. Wow, what a week. And there you go. Okay, so now, let's get a few things out of the way. Of course, there is OnStellar, onstellar.com, our preferred social media network. Preferred over Facebook. So you can go find us over there on stellar.com. Twitter is at JChurchRadio. Very simple, at JChurchRadio. You want to use hashtag F2B. That is the... Olivia, is that you in this video? Is that what is going on? You guys are too much. That's not... who is that? Is that... That's a great hashtag F2B. You can see the video that I'm looking at right here. Okay, now the second video that Olivia, is that Dancing with the Stars? That looks like the singer from on the left from Meatloaf. Remember the backup singer? What was her name? The backup singer for Meatloaf. That's pretty good. And got some Beetlejuice here. Thank you, everybody, for posting the dancing gifs. It really makes my day when we start off the show right there with those. And you can see them all right now at J Church Radio. And Rolling a Doobie, This is Canada. That's from Curtis Mullen. I heard you guys are out of weed. Do you have to import it, man? You have to import it. From North Dakota. North Dakota's got good weed, though. So does Minnesota. Scoot that stuff right across the border. You've got Washington, Seattle, right? Put it on the ferry. The ferry to Victoria and get it. Is that legal now? So wait a minute. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm deferring this to the Canadian audience, our Fadernauts from the Great White North. If I get on a ferry, it's like a math question, right? If I get on a ferry with 3 doobies in Port Angeles, Washington, and I take the ferry to Victoria, and I go through customs there in Canada, how many doobies do I have left? Yeah, seriously. Is that legal? If it's legal, it's legal in Washington, right? And it's legal in Canada. So is there a pot tariff? I'm being serious too. Is there, if it's legal to carry an ounce of weed in Washington, it's legal to carry an ounce of weed in Canada. Can you go across the border? Can you go? Well, I know you can't do that with Cuban cigars, but what about coming south? But can you do it? Right? I would think. No, do not try to take weed across the border. You will be arrested, and that border is federal. So no. Wow. All of it. See, this is the thing. The card-carrying weed smokers here at Fade to Black know their marijuana customs rules. Man, what happened to this show? And now I've got David Hatcher Childress memes being posted. You guys, okay, all right. I ask you. Well, think about it, though, for a second. I ask you, if you got 3... Okay, all right, where am I at? Somebody help me here. Let's get the show back on track. At J Church Radio is Twitter. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox on Twitter. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black Questions. You can also email throughout the show. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Breaking news. Let's get all of this in because right now there is a mysterious plume of smoke that has been spotted near a dormant volcano on Mars. Allegations of a NASA-led cover-up have spread like wildfire right now all over the internet. And starting with Secure Team 10, producing an 8-minute-long expose entitled, Something Major Happened on Mars. Are they hiding it? Now, I know what you're thinking. It's Secure Team. I know where you're going with that, but the images are real, and it's very compelling. It is a huge plume of smoke, and you can see it, right? So go and check it out. Check out the video. What is causing it? And talking about is Mars alive or not? Now, this isn't a question of the secret space program or the SSP. It's not a question of that. It is, quite frankly, supposed to be a dead planet. So are there things going on? What is causing this plume of smoke? Are they terraforming? Is ET terraforming? Are we terraforming? Right? Is it fire? If it's fire and there's an explosion, that would mean oxygen? Hey, I'm just saying, I'm just speculating here. But there you go. It's a crazy video. Go and check it out. Now, next, breaking news. Body parts belonging to murdered journalist Jamal Khashoggi have been recovered from a well in the Saudi Consul General's garden at his home. And this is according to sources, anonymous sources, who added that he had been cut up and his face was disfigured. There have been no official photographs produced, but there are images that are floating around the internet right now showing some pretty crazy stuff. So there you go. President Donald Trump said today, and I'm quoting here. No, I'm not quoting here. I'm paraphrasing here. It was a bad cover-up. As far as cover-ups go, it wasn't a good one. He said something like that today. So apparently he knows something. He said he's going to have all of the details within a few hours, and that was a few hours ago. I haven't heard anything else lately. And I know that Erdogan right now is giving his presentation to the country of Turkey. So more on that later on tonight, and I'll check out everything in between the breaks. Okay, now, where am I at? Researchers. This is some of the craziest news I can ever bring you on this show. Researchers have discovered what they say is the world's oldest intact shipwreck, and they found it at the bottom of the Black Sea. Now, the Black Sea Maritime Archaeology Project announced the discovery of an ancient Greek trading vessel off the coast of Bulgaria, and it's at a depth of 1.2 miles. At that depth, oxygen-free conditions in the water have preserved the ship, which the group says has been carbon dated to more than 2,400 years ago. The video, the images are incredible. It's like it sank last week. And I'm not kidding about this. The vessel's design had previously been seen only on ancient Greek pottery, such as the siren vase that's in the British Museum in London. Now, apparently, they found bones of fish that was their last dinner still on the deck of the boat, like scuttlefish or something, Dover sole. But I'm not kidding. It's incredible. The images are just amazing, beyond description. And you can go and check everything out. It is online right now. Just an absolutely amazing story. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It is just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on that podcast button. You're going to get whatever apps you need. It's right there. You can go to the App Store. You can go to Apple. You can go to Google. You can get the apps. Download those. Get the subscription for just $2 a month, and you will have over 900 archive shows right there. All right? Okay. You can also become a Fadernaut. And I know you want to be a Fadernaut. I know you want the autograph shirt. I know you want the autograph hats. The hats, by the way, when you become a game changer over at jimmychurchradio.com, go subscribe. You become a game changer. You get the official Fade to Black hat that is done right here in town. This isn't done over in China and imported. It's made right here by a family, right here, family-owned business, where they put that thing on a machine and they do the embroidery by hand, and it's incredible. So you get that, and those hats are not for sale. We don't give them away. You only get them one way and one way only. That's to become a game changer right now. So go and do it. You get autographed shirt, hat. The hats are signed. Sign them in gold. I do. They look really, really good. And I'll right now on Twitter, I'm going to ask of Fadernauts, post pictures of your autographed hats. They're incredible. And on the back, they say jimmychurchradio.com. They're cool, man. Really cool. But you only get them if you become a game changer. And you can do that today over in our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Don't forget to visit all of our sponsors here. Life Change Tea, of course, River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. It is truly the best coffee in the world right there. Fade to Black blend. Use the promo code F2B blend, 15% off of your order right now. All of the promo codes are in the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. Let's get this show cracking. Because I want to say happy birthday to today, Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds today is 42 years old. One of the funniest guys, man. I like him. Deadpool. You know, what was better? Deadpool 1 or Deadpool 2? What was better? Now, see, for me to ask that question, I think it's safe to say I'm going to go with Deadpool 2. Yep, I'm going to go there. Deadpool's great, but I think I Deadpool. Look at Eric's stick. Look at Eric's stick with that autographed fade to black hat. That's it. Look at that hat, and you can get yours. Become a game changer today. Thank you, Eric, for posting that. Yeah, post your pictures. I'm going to see pictures of your hats. And there you go. Where am I at? Oh, I forgot where I was going. Oh, Ryan Reynolds today. Deadpool is 42 years old. And also Weird Al Yankovic today is 59 years old. A dead guy's birthday today, Johnny Carson, 1925 to 2005, died at the age of 79. Host of The Tonight Show from 1961 to 1992. And I remember this is back around, this is before Johnny Carson died. So this was around 2005, 2004, 2005. Rita and I are with our girls, and we're on a sailboat, a yacht. A friend of mine had, a nice big, like 60-foot sailboat, big sailboat down in Marina Del Rey. And so we're down there for Christmas, and we're cruising around. We're in the parade of lights that they do, and they light up all the boats, and you take them around. And so we're there, and we're cruising around, and we pull up, and I look at this ship, right? It's just huge, right? And I'm like, man, look at that thing. And he goes, that's Johnny Carson's. And I'm like, Johnny Carson owns that? And I swear, I don't know, but that thing had to have been 150 feet, 200 feet, 150 feet. I don't know how many floors, decks, right? It was like the Titanic, but it was a private yacht. I'll never forget that. Thought, man, the Tonight Show, man, 30 years of the Tonight Show, and you can own something like that. But there it was, parked in Marina Del Rey, and then he died right after that. And I remember Rita and I were wondering if Johnny was on the boat that night, but we got to see it. On this day in history, 2001, big day. Apple introduces the first iPod player. That day in 2001, October 23rd, was a game changer. Forgot my fade to black hat. Well, then don't post the picture. No. That's not even going to get a retweet. There, Frankie. Let's see, who is here? Yeah, I do want to see your faded black hats. I do. I really do. All right. And Johnny Carson. Man, I'm just, all that talk of weed, and I'm just feeling, stoned at the moment. And on this day in history, fate or fact, one day in April 1930, this is a fate or fact, this has been vetted. One April day in 1930, the BBC reported on the radio that there is no news. So instead, they played piano music. And that is your fate or fact. Thank you, Dexter Dave. That's a cool shot of your hat. I'm digging that right there. Man, that's cool. That's cool. Dexter, where's the autograph? Did I sign it underneath? Man, I love the beard, though. Fate or fact. Tonight, Laura Eisenhower is here. I love it when she's on the show. Sometimes you just got to get centered, and there is only one person to do that for this community on the show, and it is Laura Eisenhower. Our UFO community is crazy. That's right. But tonight we're going to learn how to fight that darkness that seems to be everywhere right now, that hidden agenda of the media and the world and corporate leaders. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern is here to talk about his new book on alien abductions. And then Thursday night, Fader night, open lines all night long. Now, are you ready? There are two shows that stand out for me when I think about the classic Art Bell days on Coast to Coast AM. Funny enough, they don't involve Bob Lazar or David Adair, and I know that's where you were going. That's easy to do. And as amazing as those shows were, for me, they just don't compare to Jonathan Reed or Mel's Hole. Now, if you don't remember Jonathan Reed, let's do that one first. Jonathan Reed and Robert Wraith. Now, the story goes something like this. Now, this is what I want everybody to do. I want you to help me out. Okay? So while I am talking about these two amazing events, I want some of you Fadernauts to post the pictures of Jonathan Reed, his alien, right, the craft in the woods. Because on October 15th, 1996, Jonathan was on a trail hiking with his dog in the woods of Washington State. And he calls in to, or he's a guest on Coast to Coast with Art, and tells this story. And the trail and his dog was central in all of this. And the reason why I bring that up is because the story, as Jonathan told it, and you're listening to something like this late at night, you know, the lights are off, the room is dark, and you got the radio on next to your bed, and you're listening to this, the story grabs you because it's a hike with your dog, okay? And nothing is more personal or cool than that. And so Jonathan is very colorful. The woods, and it smelled, and it was this, and my dog, and you know, we're excited, you know, and my dog, you know, beautiful, you know, it was like golden retriever, German shepherd, you know, beautiful dog. And he's very descriptive of all of this stuff. Now, you got to remember that this was, you know, some 22 years ago that this was on Coast to Coast, but I've listened to it many, many times. And he says that the dog ran ahead from him on the trail, barking. And he hears the dog, and he's wondering what the dog is barking at. And then the dog yelps and cries, and then silence. So Reed, you know, takes off running. And he gets to the area and finds where his dog was. And he sees that his dog was well, I don't know how to describe it, just vaporized by an ET. And Reed, seeing the alien just standing there, grabs a log and cracks the alien over the head, killing him. It's a dramatic story. The whole thing is told with such emotion and detail that you just can't help yourself like I did, right? Getting sucked in. It's a great story. Reed then looks around, sees the alien's spaceship parked in the trees. It's floating, by the way, and it's a black triangle craft. It's like a faceted jewel diamond, you know, thing. It's long, and it's not too big, by the way. It's like the perfect one-man cruiser craft, and he starts taking pictures. That's right. He got pictures. He then wraps the ET in a thermal blanket, takes the dead alien home, and when he gets there, he throws him in the freezer in his garage. Now, what follows in this story, the whole thing, right? You got Men in Black, his house gets tossed. You know, he goes in and they're searching all over the place, but they don't find the alien in the freezer. What luck, right? The next night, Reed hears a noise from the garage. He opens up the freezer. The alien opens his eyes. Bleep, he's alive. It's a great story, man. He takes pictures. There's pictures of it, of the alien. I think there's video, too. Oh, the horror, right? Well, the story gets told, the pictures get published, and Jonathan Reed is now famous. There's much more to the story. His neighbors were killed. He had an alien artifact that he called the Link, right? He was on the run from the feds. You know, it's great stuff. And Reed was on Coast with Art many times to tell the story. But it was that first show that was the best. But it was all a hoax. It was all made up. All of it. Does that take away from the show? Not really. In fact, I've gone back and listened to it a few times after the hoax disclosure even happened. The second greatest show, or shows with Art, was Mel's Hole. Mel Waters was a caller at the beginning of a show one night, and he told Art about a hole on his property that didn't seem to have a bottom. That's right. It was a real bottomless pit. Waters claimed that he owned rural property 9 miles east of Ellensburg in Catatas County, Washington, that contained this mysterious hole. Now, according to Mel, the hole went on forever. They would throw refrigerators in it. They would throw trash in it, and nothing ever hit the bottom. They could even throw a dead pet or animal into the hole, and they would come back alive, right? He claimed that he measured the hole's depth to some 80,000 feet by using fishing line. He would unwind fishing line and use heavier and heavier and weights and weight it down, and it just never seemed to hit bottom. I remember he was doing like lifesavers, trying to see if they would get wet. Oh, man, Jolly Ranchers, whatever. Now, according to Waters, the hole's magical properties caused U.S. federal agents, men in black, to seize the land and fund his relocation to Australia. Later investigations revealed that there was no such person named Mel Waters, listed as residing in the area or owning property, that any of this ever even existed. Now, I remember Art had Mel on the phone for the full show. That's right. And then Mel returned the next night as well. He was also on Coast in 2000 and 2002 after he got back from Australia. But the whole thing was a hoax, right? And I know. It's crazy. But it was a hoax. What do you do with it? It's sad because Mel Waters was a great storyteller, and you just wanted to believe. Today, you can sit around at a party with friends and bring up Mel's Hole and talk about it for hours. Same thing with Jonathan Reed. But what do we get from these two great classic nights of Coast to Coast AM? What we get is a lesson in discernment, in judgment. You see, in Reed's case, you had pictures. You got a location. You got a dead dog. You got dead neighbors, real evidence, witnesses, right? Same thing with Mel's Hole. You got Mel's name. It's Waters. He's a property owner. You've got the location, the county, the state. It's all there, right? Okay. So you can run with it and you can check out the facts. But that's not what's most important. What is important is what you do with it when you find out that you've been had. And millions were. Millions. Are we pissed at Art? No, nobody is. Are you mad at Mel? No. Jonathan Reed? That's a nope to him, too. All got a pass card. Today, it's a different world. Can you imagine if I had a caller or a guest with the same story today, either on Coast to Coast or here on Fade to Black? Would you buy into it? And if you did and later found out that it wasn't true, are you angry? Do you stop listening to others' experiences? I had a caller one night over on Coast. I forget her name. It doesn't matter. She told a story about being in the desert and seeing flying saucers that had conveyor belts loaded with human bodies being loaded onto the craft. And I was like, holy crap, right? Twitter lit up. It was nuts. Great story. Yeah. But after the call, I get an email from someone saying that she's been telling the same story for years and that they were friends and that it was all made up and she rehearsed it. But you know what? For me, at that moment, when she was telling the story, it didn't matter. It was golden radio for about 5 minutes. Seriously. And this is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight is Laura Eisenhower. It is going to be great. We're going to get centered. That's what we do with Laura when she is here. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern, right here on Fade to Black. He's got a new book out about abductions. And then, of course, Thursday night is another Fader night. Thursday night, open lines all night long. It's Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Let's light it up tonight. I'll be right back with our guest, Laura Eisenhower. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices. And let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to GetTheTea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Laura Eisenhower is here. That's right, she is here. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern. Thursday night is another Fader night. Open lines all night long. What a great week here on Fade to Black. It's always a great week here on Fade to Black, but tonight it's Laura, and she is a global alchemist, a cosmic mythologist, and intuitive astrologist. She's an internationally acclaimed speaker who has presented her work worldwide. Laura is the great-granddaughter of President Dwight David Eisenhower. She is one of the leading researchers on health and exopolitics and alchemy, metaphysics, and ancient history. She works to free us from the 3D holographic time loop that false arcanic systems and the military-industrial complex with their hidden agendas so we can take all of that power back. Tonight, we're going to do it all. We're going to discuss world events, our crazy UFO community, how to fight the darkness that seems to be the hidden agenda of the media and the world and corporate leaders, and, of course, mass meditation. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Laura Eisenhower. Laura, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jimmy?
It's always great to hear your voice, but you know that.
Well, same with yours.
No. It's more so with you. Look, people, Laura, people hear my voice, and it's like nails on a chalkboard. But they hear yours, and it's just like, it's an moment.
If I don't talk too fast.
Well, yeah, we can slow it down tonight, or you can try. There's no reason to change who you are. Do you remember? Do you remember the movie The Fifth Element?
I do.
Okay, there's a scene. I forget the alien's name. He comes in and he's in disguise, right? And he looks human, and he shakes his head, and he turns into an alien, and what's his name says, "Don't be ashamed of who you are." It's like this. It's this funny scene, and I always think about that. And you know what? If you think you talk too fast, don't think like that. Don't change who you are. Be you, right? Isn't that what it's all about?
It is what it's all about. Oh, I have no apologies about it. I just know it's probably the most common feedback I get, so I have to laugh.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I remember years ago, I forget, you were on, oh man, I don't even know if you're going to remember this, but it was a long time ago. And you did some show, I can't remember what it was, but with like Andrew Bishago, right? Mm-hmm. And the two of you, and so he does, and you come on, and you were like, rah! And I was like, man, she is cool, But I had to concentrate. But you know what? You got 2 volumes. It's like 2 books. You got volume 1 and volume 2 all at the same time. Right.
Right.
You get it's 2 for 1. You get.
Well, I did have twins, so.
Yeah, that's right. And how is life for you? I know that before we get started, you're in a part of the country now where you are away from the hustle and bustle, right? Can you order a pizza where you are at right now?
No.
You can't, right? So what's it like? Is it almost off the grid? Would you call it off the grid?
Not quite. We're about 15 minutes from restaurants and stores. It's just not really, the road that we're living on is not the best for delivery people. They don't go that far. I mean, I guess if I called around, there might be somebody. I don't even think there's just a regular pizza place, but there's nice, places to go out, and I don't feel it's so remote. It's kind of like a really healthy balance. We're not completely out there, but we're not completely in the center of a lot of, noise and activity. But I can acclimate if I was in something remote or in a place with a lot of activity. You just got to kind of, acclimate and pull in whatever resources one needs to stay shielded, protected, or not completely stir crazy because you can't order that pizza and you're feeling very creative in the kitchen.
Sure. Yeah. And the other part of that is when you first made the change, right? I'm talking about location, right? You make the location change. What did that do for you? I mean, like immediate. Did you see like changes? Did you notice things about you that were, maybe even chemically changing?
Well, I mean, my background's in wilderness expedition leadership, and I've always lived in mountainous sort of wilderness areas. And then I've also lived in a lot of, places that there's a lot of people and a lot of activity. And I'm kind of an adventurer on that level. I've moved like 40 plus times, but the more remote places I haven't lived in a while. So going from, California to then Eugene to then here in Montana, I really could feel just a reset a lot of groundedness and just a lot of inspiration, just being able to look out the window and just seeing all the wildlife. But I can't even say I have much of a preference. So wherever anybody is, you can make it work. But I did feel a change. I think I kind of went into a little bit of shock because I was in a lot of kind of survival energy before I moved here.
Right.
I was just kind of going through a lot of crap, I guess you could say. And, and a new relationship and moving the kids. So it took a little while, but now it's been about a year and a half and I'm completely in love with the place as winter's about to hit. And that's going to be a whole nother reality. Winters is pretty intense. That's probably the hardest part. But as long as I get away and travel a little bit, it's not too much. I'm going to China with John D'Souza and Michael Sala in December. So that will be a nice little break. As long as things don't feel, too like snowed in, I'm good. It's about a 6-month winter though.
And you, speaking of China, and fully jealous about that too, by the way, I heard about this trip and it's going to be great. Let's get a couple of things out of the way. This week, you are going to be in Albuquerque, right, for the Stargate conference?
Yeah, Stargate to the Cosmos in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Lots of speakers. I think there's about 50 speakers.
I saw that.
A lot are through Skype. A lot of people will be there in person. And it's Janet and Sasha Lesson that's putting it on. And yeah, I'm excited. I lived in New Mexico for a while, and it's a beautiful state. And I know a lot of people that'll be heading that way. So yeah, I'm excited about that. We're actually flying out tomorrow. So
yeah, we actually were going to go, and we were making arrangements. Right, we're all excited, and again, and Rita comes in and she goes, "Cancel everything." I said, "What's up?" She goes, "It's my dad's birthday."
Ooh.
I was like, well, that cancels that, right? Close the screens out. That shuts that down. We were looking forward to it, but it's our dad's birthday, and how great is that? And so
awesome.
There you go. But we were really looking forward to going out and hanging out with all of you. What are you going to be speaking at Stargate about?
Well, the current ascension cycle and a lot of things about ET government treaties, secret space program, exopolitics type stuff, my experiences, and just things that are more current too. Because I've been speaking for a long time, and I try and keep it fresh, and just definitely paying attention to what's currently going on in the world. And obviously, as things move forward, our consciousness and our even physicality changes with it. So there's always something new to come in, new information. A lot of new dot connecting, within the same subjects that I've been speaking about for a while. But it's always like the hopes is that you kind of take it to the next level. And yeah, I'm kind of bringing in a whole lot of new stuff related to sacred geometries and alchemy and earth grids and DNA. And even though I've been talking about it before, there's a bunch of new goodies to bring into the mix. And I don't know if the people that are going to be attending have even seen me speak before. So I like to keep some of the old themes alive because it's definitely related to the larger picture and, what it means to work on advancing our human vessel and what it means to recognize, we're the shift and it's coming from inside of us. It's really an initiation. So that's kind of what it's all about.
A couple of years ago, Brad just posted a picture of you and I at Disclosure Fest here in Los Angeles, and what a great day that was, wasn't it? It was just an amazing time. And Disclosure Fest is about the Mass Meditation Initiative, and you are going to be taking part in the Disclosure Fest Mass Meditation that, of all places, is going to be in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial on 11/11 at 11/11. Coming up here in just 2 short weeks. You're going to be out there doing that. And what more of an important place to do a mass meditation than Washington, D.C., right?
Oh, yeah. I went to high school right outside of D.C. I worked in D.C. I have such a lot of memories from Washington, D.C., and my mother lives in the heart of Washington, D.C., and yeah, it's really interesting for me. It's sort of surreal because, teenage years, high school in that area, nobody took you seriously. And I don't think anybody even knew I was related to Eisenhower except for my close friends, because it's not like I really wanted the association until I could really bust down some agendas. So, I needed some processing time and to gather some research and my own experience. And now I get to kind of go back, and it just feels like a completion, like I'm completing a circle. I'll be able to visit my mom. My husband's going to be able to meet my mother. And that's exciting, on top of the fact that, almost not on top of the fact, but in addition to the fact that this is going to be powerful. 11/11. Think about it. Washington, D.C., with all that's going on there. And here we are presenting topics on disclosure, consciousness. There's going to be music, a panel of speakers. We all know the names. Corey's going to be there. Michael Sala, John D'Souza, Jordan Sather.
Billy Carson.
Yeah, Billy and Roger Richard. The list goes on. So this is going to be a powerful event. And I just hope anybody who's listening to this that lives in the area, I hope you'll join us, because this is really what creates powerful shifts, is when we all put our consciousness together and a focused intention that is really about making the world a more beautiful place and helping to break free of, hidden agendas and exposing all the secrecy that we've been having to deal with and contend with, that is, basically compromised our development and stunted our growth. But, we all have this powerful spirit and fire within us that won't stand for it. And so this is what these gatherings are about. We're the folks that won't stand for it. And there's a lot of people all over the world that feel the same way. So it's really about that unified field and really connecting to each other and raising the vibration. So I'm so excited. I just can't even believe it's Washington, D.C. I've been wondering, will I ever do a talk there after such an interesting journey in that area? And, of course, my mom used to live in the White House, and Eisenhower's administration was there. Where else would it be, right, if he was president?
Right. Well, the dark forces that are currently in D.C., and they'll be there tomorrow too as well. They're not going to go away, but they've also accumulated over the years too. There must be resident dark forces just that you're walking upon, and the grid and the way that the city was laid out. It's designed for that, and you guys are going to do a mass meditation there. Do you think that they'll feel it? Is it going to be enough to overcome what is there?
I really feel that. I just can't imagine that it couldn't. I always felt it in the mind control. I won most out of touch with reality for my senior class when I went to school near D.C. because I had no affiliation with politics, government. I was really speaking a different language. I was talking about the kind of topics I talk about now. I've been talking about this stuff for so long, and I was sort of kind of laughed at, but I did have, alternative type friends that could handle it and what I was about. So it's not the most common thing to run into, is somebody that understands disclosure, shadow government, hidden agendas, reptilian agendas, let alone, hidden agendas, or, the ancient history and galactic history that connects with it. That's just stuff that people don't talk about. I have done a few sessions with people that live in that area that feel very alone. And then there's, a lot of music, there's a lot of art. So there's very open-minded people, and they're just really probably so starving and ready for this to be in this location. And I'm sure it'll attract a lot of that type. But I can't imagine that it wouldn't. It's almost like an immune system getting boosted and all the parasites and germs and bacteria and viruses of your body being expelled. And I did a radio show the other day. I was like, we might see reptilians just flying off the face of the freaking earth.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. Next, on 11/15, a few days later, Congress passes federal laws legalizing pot. Some crazy thing. Just why did we do that? I don't know. What came over us? I'm not sure. Why are you wearing a tie-dye shirt, Rand Paul? I don't know. I don't. It could be something that makes a change, because the mass meditations, when they happen, I believe there is scientific proof of drops in crime, right? That things do actually chill out. And I can't think of a better place than Washington, D.C. to kick it off.
Well, it holds an override frequency beyond mind control, beyond all these different things that are trying to hold people to a program or keep them in the trance or keep them in a mindset of conquer and divide. To hold a space that is so beyond that can really neutralize a lot of these dark technologies.
The other part you had mentioned, and I want to talk about this for a second. You just mentioned the ascension cycle. First off, I need a definition for the audience on that. I don't want this to get lost on them. But where are we right now?
Well, the stellar activation cycle is known to be between 2000 to 2017. So here we are in 2018, which is, obviously not within that window. So 2018 has a lot more to do with embodiment. I mean, there's been a lot of processing amongst all of us, a lot of sharing of information, and that's still important. But at some point, the information has to become something that we become, where the information is so expansive. It's so capable of helping us to upgrade our DNA or see through the program that we can start to really just enjoy ourselves more. Because the thing is, we've been in this cycle of dumbed down DNA. The tree of knowledge, metaphorically speaking, has been targeted by mind control, so that when we're trying to understand truth and knowledge, we keep kind of going off on these tangents or sub-personalities of ourselves and getting caught up in, things that are really distracting and draining, which actually feeds the matrix and the dark technologies. They rely on our energy to actually even function, because it's our consciousness that they need to feed on. So with all this disclosure stuff we've been talking about, and a lot of the researchers and a lot of the experiencers that have come forward, we're kind of assessing it. And here we are, still trying to grapple with quite a bit of it. And we're only really young in the new part of the ascension cycle, which is 2018. But there's going to be a certain point where we all have a breakthrough, where it's going to be less about the information and more about the qualities of love, compassion, unity, respect, forgiveness, so that we can handle where some of this information has created a lot of friction, so that we can kind of rise above it and not stay in this space of, conquer and divide that is still targeting, even higher consciousness communities and even communities that are geared towards the truth. So this next cycle has a lot to do with, okay, there's got to be some sort of breakthrough here, and sort of a place that we can all land and agree upon, so that we don't get caught in that trap, thinking that that's more important than us coming together and really just rehabilitating any place that has fallen to the wayside, that doesn't feel totally integrated. Because we're talking about, individuals that have been through a lot of trauma and mind control, and, SRA, satanic ritual abuse, and pedophilia is getting busted. So a lot of those victims that are coming forward, they're not going to be, ready to just be okay all the time, so we've got that too. And so there's going to be a point where I think we're really going to be vibrating on just more of a level of embodiment, instead of just the mental plane of, what's true, what's not true, who's real, who's not real. Is this disinformation? Is this truth? And we're going to be more heart-centered with each other. And that's what this next cycle is about. And that's when we really begin to step into the tree of life, which is another example of DNA. So we go from tree of knowledge, which is like representative of more dumbed down DNA and duality, to the tree of life, which is more about the integration of polarity. And if we don't reconcile our differences when it comes to, choosing sides and choosing to battle, we're still really vulnerable to attack and assaults, because we're not shielded. It makes our energy bodies vulnerable, and it also allows nefarious forces to, play games with us, which, can only create conflict amongst each other if we don't kind of see through it and hold space for each other's deeper soul and spirit energy.
There is a picture that was just posted of that moment in time when you were on Faded Black and Contact in the Desert with Jim Mars and Linda Moulton Howe, and you dropped the F-bomb. Now, this picture, at that moment when you did that, I was next to you, and I was watching your emotions. You were upset. And you dropped the F-bomb, and you had told everybody then. That was 4 years ago, Laura, right? And I know you remember it like it was yesterday. That was 4 years ago. And you had warned everybody about the divide and conquer, the things that were happening, these dark forces that were on the horizon, and you were upset that this was actually going to have an effect on all. Here we are 4 years later. Everything that you warned us about happened, right? It all happened. And here we are. You're talking about divide and conquer today, and that I feel that we've taken the turn on it. Certainly we've recognized it. But do you remember that moment and how angry you were and the warnings and what you were shouting out to the world about back then?
Yeah, I ran into that photograph and I had to chuckle because the look on your face, too, is so funny. Yeah, I was pretty fired up. But it was really coming from love. And just, when you said that, too, it kind of is humorous because it kind of runs in the family, just the whole warning, like warning of a military-industrial complex, warning of conquer and divide. And I know I'm not the only one that recognizes these kind of warnings, but it's just kind of humorous. Because the way I look at it is I'm a voice for the unified field. It has nothing to do with me or, follow my trip or my truth. It's just something that I know works. Because it's based on greater cosmic and natural law. Anything that is divided, we can just see that within ourselves. If we're not in balance with ourselves, we're very vulnerable to all sorts of things. If we're not in our power and we're in a partnership or we're looking for a partnership, it's easy to attract narcissists and control freaks because we're not fully shielded and solid.
Right.
They might be plugging into a weak point. They usually like to find people that are going through something already that aren't fully healed from maybe something they just have gone through. So it's not about saying that if you attracted that, you must be weak. They usually find somebody in a vulnerable place that might be a temporary vulnerable place. But yeah, so that was a focus many years ago, and it's something that we're looking at again. And to me, this is a test for each individual in the community because we get to decide, how do we handle duality and conflict? And isn't it up to each of us to put ourselves in a position that doesn't lower themselves to that level of entanglement? Because each one of us, when we choose to be harmonizers and balancers and kind of like neutral observers to hold space to allow things to go where they need to go until we have enough evidence or information to really formulate opinions instead of just assumptions or projections, then we can steer this in the right direction without sabotaging our ability to steer it in the right direction because we're fighting too hard before it's even ripe enough to even know what we're dealing with.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Right. Let's I have to take a break right here, but this is too important to let go. So we're going to pick up with this when we come back. It was, Laura, seriously, I was watching you and I knew at that moment, I didn't know the F-bomb was coming, but I could see the emotion and where you went with it that day. And you know what? Sometimes it sucks to be right, but we are able to look back and realize that we need to trust in ourselves and listen to others like yourself. And that's what Fade to Black is all about. Our guest tonight is Laura Eisenhower. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie Lee, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Jimmy Church on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest is Laura Eisenhower. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern right here. Thursday night's another Fader night. Open lines all night long. And right before the break, you know what? Before we get to continue with that, Laura, I was just listening to Serena's little thing there about my chart. Would you do my chart?
Of course.
You need to. I need confirmation that I've got the most amazing chart in the history of everything.
Oh, I bet you do. So I can already say, yeah, you do, Jimmy.
I want to do it. You know, I need confirmation. I need confirmation. But it's very interesting when I've had my charts done 3 times, and I need a 4th. I'm just saying, I need a 4th. I need it to be you. So
can't wait. Yes.
Yeah, we got to work that out. Now, let's talk about where we are today. We were right before the break where we were talking about what you were saying back in, I can't even believe I'm going to say this, 2014, right? That's 4 years ago. And your concern about the planet. Here we are today. I have never seen so much controversy, and it doesn't even matter what we're talking about, whether it's sports or politics or the weather, or it's like pick a subject, UFOs, this community, whatever it is. Everything right now is about dividing. And what do you make of that? What is causing this, Laura?
Well, I think there's so many disturbing things that are coming to the surface. I mean, we tend to look at this window period, or, there's the Mayan prophecies about it being the end of the world, but a lot of people have used the term ascension. So I think most can put the dots together that the Mayans were really talking about an advancement in human culture, not the end of the world. But some kind of leverage the whole idea that it would be the end of the world. And so it could have been a lot darker than it is right now. But we're sort of in this friction between these different sort of timelines that have a lot to do with our own personal consciousness and what we identify with within ourselves. So it's almost like everything is coming up within us, this warring between these different aspects of ourselves that are sort of playing out outside of us, right? So for us to attain mastery, we have to kind of self-reflect and see, well, what are we feeding? What possibilities that haven't really fully manifested as a future outcome? What scenario are we feeding? That's what it really comes down to, because everything is something to kind of pick and choose. It's sort of like we're close to Halloween. Okay, you have like a bowl of candy and you put your hand in and you pick out something. Well, sometimes you close your eyes and sometimes your eyes are open. Well, when your eyes are open, you're a lot more awake. You can pick and choose and have a little bit more conscious, creative control without being in control. If you close your eyes, you're just kind of at the mercy of whatever you get, which can still have significance. But I mean, to me, the whole deal is that everything is getting like really chaotic. Like, what happens when a person detoxes? You can have all these green foods and take all these detox teas and have all these supplements. And if you're holding on to a lot of toxicity, or if you're not fully in alignment with your own internal core truth, and if you're kind of operating from an imbalanced ego, or you've just lived a very unhealthy lifestyle, when you choose to do a detox, or when the energy of the planet is saying it's time to do a clearing and a purging, it's going to create a lot of difficulty, because there's always a healing crisis, right? So in a metaphorical sense, we're all sort of puking. We're having anxiety attacks. We're having a panic. We don't know, what to trust and what to do and where to move forward. We're seeing really sort of strange places in ourselves, inner child wounds, maybe places in us that we're in competition, or we might have accidentally put somebody on a pedestal, and then all of a sudden that pedestal is not what we thought it was. And it's just kind of like all these different things. It's sort of like when you're in a relationship and the childhood wounds are more in the relationship than the authenticity of the individuals. And then it creates drama and chaos and crisis. But if we can see it as a temporary process that is on its way to be cleared, then we don't have to attach ourselves to any part of it, which dark agendas are leveraging. Because if we attach ourselves to any part of it, it becomes an artificial timeline that we find ourselves on, and we begin to digress. I already noticed I'm talking fast. So anyway,
let me stop you right there for a second. This is very important. The ability to recognize that this is going to happen is probably more important than it happening in the first place, right? You've got to know what to expect and then get through it.
Right. I did a post the other day about, it feels like humanity's going through puberty. There's a lot of irrationalism. I mean, people are acting a little bit irrational. There's mood swings. 1 minute you think this way, the next minute you think that way. People are kind of relating to each other on a pretty low level. And every once in a while we get glimpses of the bigger picture, and we can, kind of connect in a much higher way. And so it's kind of like all over the place. And so we have to look at it from a perspective of, well, we're also guardians and parents, but we're also the child. So we have to have compassion for the child, whether that is coming out within ourselves or we notice it from somebody else. So when we notice it from somebody else, we need to kind of hold space as kind of like a parental guardian for us. If we notice it within ourselves, maybe we need to find people that love us and appreciate us and aren't going to judge us. We just have to kind of move through this cloud, because we're actually moving through the veil. I mean, if we looked at it in a sci-fi movie, we're kind of like, or maybe not that, like the, what was it? What swamp that the princess and, just, we're kind of going through that.
The Princess Bride.
Whatever that swamp they went through.
Yeah, the fire swamp. Great scene.
Thank you.
Yeah, great scene.
And I don't want to refer to movies. Gosh, that's not just
well, it's okay if it's The Princess Bride, though. That's fine. That's fine.
Right. So anyway, we're kind of going through this initiation where we're kind of recognizing what's at stake. We don't want to lose sacred union. We don't want to lose unity consciousness. We don't want to all of a sudden be yanked into something that is going to rob our soul and take our life force and put us in this sort of soulless kind of robotic embodiment. And some people will. So let them, choose to do that. But if we start to get embroiled in the frequencies that, or the energies or the technologies that are going to play on or imitate or create false timelines and realities out of the fact that we're stooping to that level, then it's going to take that much more for us to pull out of it. So we have to kind of keep each other in check and just say, it's okay, I love you, I forgive you. And that's maybe on a more like personal relationship level. When it comes to the larger picture and how we interpret it, it's sort of the same thing. We see all these wars between the right and the left, but it's not really about the right and the left. It's about a lot of people having disbelief that the dark agendas we've been contending with for thousands of years are actually darker than we probably could have imagined. So there was no way to move into higher earth energies without this stuff being purged. So the fact that it is being purged is a positive sign, because anything else would have probably been a false ascension matrix, where we never found out about the level of pedophilia or satanic ritual abuse that exists. We're just, going off into some sort of new agey kind of deception, and we're not even thinking anything of it. And some alien race is going to try and control us with that sort of polarized way of being. What's beautiful about what's happening right now is some real dark stuff, and I'm not cussing, is coming to the surface, and it's rocking the foundation of so many people who have invested in the system or trusted some portion of it or chose a side that they believed in and were advocating for. And now we realize it's not even about this side or that side. It's about, busting a criminal cabal that's connected with a larger, deeper agenda that relates to our galactic history, that relates to, things all the way back to the Orion Wars and even the Lyran Wars and the Electric Wars. And, when our DNA got switched off, this was a point in our history that, the Sumerian Egyptian Wars, that unplugged our DNA. And we lost all our galactic memories, but only a certain race was able to maintain those memories. And they've been able to manipulate us because of that ever since. And so, whether that comes to the surface or not doesn't matter. Some people might talk about it. We can get really into the nitty gritty, but just to keep it simple is that we are recognizing the depths of manipulation that we've been going through, and everybody's got their different way of processing it. And we're dealing with people that have been in programs, projects, mind control projects, we know all this, in the community, whether you're a researcher or an experiencer, there's all this stuff coming down. And then there's, people that are just, I'm just having my Starbucks coffee. What the hell is this? And somebody just threw me this email with this YouTube and they're just,
right.
Wanting to go to work and continue with their life. So it's starting to spread. A lot more information is coming out. And we're kind of in the healing crisis that one would experience if they were going through a massive detox. And so there's got to be certain individuals that are able to hold ground or hold the awareness that, as difficult as it might seem right now, it's going to be so much more beautiful on the other side of it. Because healing crisis brings up injuries, old wounds, any illness you've ever had. And it can be more painful than anything you've ever been through. But if we can recognize that in this phase of the ascension cycle, it's a major detox and everything's going to feel really gnarly and almost like super dark, like we're not heading anywhere, which is how a person feels usually when they go through that sort of healing crisis with a detox. We can just move through it, breathe through it, laugh through it, and know that the energy is going to lift sooner or later, and we might be able to laugh together. And those that aren't on board with unity consciousness are going to fall away or be exposed to either be forgiven or let go of. But let's not keep on this duality and be at war with, something that has more behind the scenes kind of trying to control the narrative than the individuals really actually want. So we got to let go of the personalities and start to, peel away the layers a little bit and protect one another. Because I don't like to see the bashing and the smearing and the name calling. We're not, as much as we feel like we're smart, we're really not smart enough to be able to create conclusions out of what is going on right now, to be really harsh on anybody, because that's not going to help anyone.
That's right. And so to do that and to recognize that and to do it correctly, you have to practice discernment. And both a spiritual discernment and a real definition of discernment. And years ago, or 2 years ago, I remember you and I were talking backstage about discernment, and you schooled me, right? And I got up on stage and did a discernment speech that I ripped off from you, and at least I admit it today. But
Rip me off anytime.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But you really gave me a real way of looking at discernment and what its definition was. And I want you to go, what is your definition? Because if you need to recognize this now, and you're speaking about this now, well, what is discernment? And for you, what is that definition?
Well, the more authentic we are, the more our BS meter works. If we're not being real with ourselves, how can we deal with the world around us and accurately assess it? To me, the body can be a gift or it can be a trap. You know how some people feel trapped in the physical? Well, we're not really. That's a perspective. The body can be a vehicle and a creative vessel to take us into something that we can't even imagine. And when we look at higher dimensional beings, they're advanced versions of ourselves. When we look at beings that have been compromised, that have to time travel back because they became vampiric and they need something to feed on to keep their life cycle alive, yeah, it's a trap. And they want to entrap others to keep us as a food source. So our job is to know how to align with what we would prefer, because everybody's got free will. It's like, okay, hey, you want to digress? Go for it. But if you don't know what is causing the digression and you don't have the discernment, then all of a sudden you're going to wake up one day and wonder why, your soul is like you're hanging onto it by a string, versus going through these initiations based on this current cycle that's advancing our human vessel to become something that we can't even imagine, because we haven't even been functioning from our full strand DNA for a really long time. We have glimpses and memories of it, but discernment is just really trusting that we're a very advanced technology. Artificial intelligence seeks to imitate it so it can throw us different storylines and scenarios that further enslave our lower emotional body and negative ego. If we can recognize the body as a gift, if we can recognize that compassion, alignment with source, integrity are the keys to our freedom, even if it means that, oh yeah, your ego might not feel like, oh, I'm the greatest thing on earth, but you feel into the, oh my gosh, I'm connected to the earth, I'm connected with spirit, and I never felt so much bliss. Wouldn't one want to choose that? Well, that's up to a person to decide. But when you align with something within yourself that feels like your truth, then at least you're discerning what you want to integrate into your world, instead of feeling like, I don't know myself and I trusted that and I can't believe they hurt me. I believed in them and they betrayed me. We've all been there. So discernment is learning our lessons, integrating truth, putting ourselves first, not in service to self way, but that through being authentic, even if it means that we're stupid some days, or we cry some days, or we're angry some days, at least we're being ourselves, which means that, we're going to be able to see the BS outside of us. And if we have good enough friends, they'll still be our friends despite us being ourselves. You know what I mean?
If you lose that control and you don't practice or recognize how to use discernment in the right way, could you be part of the problem too as well? Could the darkness spread because you're not recognizing what the issues are, not only with yourself, but what is going on around you? And then suddenly you're part of the problem, and you could maybe halt the darkness, or you could spread it without practicing the right discernment and recognizing what is going on.
But still, that's coming from your, that individual's projector.
Right.
So their reality is going to push them to the edge where they start to see, wow, if I were to move down this pathway with this particular mindset, wow, look at all the destruction that it causes. Look at the way people are feeling about me and how my health is feeling compromised. And so that person has the ability to step back and say, wait a second, I don't want this to go too far. So even though it might be feeding something negative, if we didn't feed it or see the end result, I don't think we'd be able to know how to reel it in, because we're really here for spiritual and soul development. So if we don't notice how the misuse of power, intention, or what we attach ourselves to, if we don't see the detriment of some of those choices, then we don't have that disciplinary part of life kind of give us the correction. So the false matrix likes to give us teachers and leaders and facades that try and give us a sense of law and discipline. But the greatest teacher is life and our life experience and our relationships, our relationship with ourself, what our physical body has to say in the form of symptoms and messages, the way we relate to our partners. And if we feel mistreated, that we don't think, oh, it must be me. It's like, well, maybe it's that person, and maybe it's a mutual agreement to just, walk away and let that you know what I mean? I don't want to go into all that, but in every moment we have a chance to advance ourselves. It's not about when is ascension going to happen. It's about, it already is here, but can you remove the distractions away from you? Can you remove the veil? Can you find self-worth beyond needing ego gratification? Can you just feel whole enough just knowing that you're in this powerful vessel that is going to take you on a grand adventure? If you can just drop, the need for some sort of, I don't know. I mean, isn't that what love's for?
Well,
to be seen, but not in a way that makes us somebody we're not, or where we feel we have to vamp off them to feel powerful. It's a mutual agreement to just experience something beautiful, I think.
Yeah, and see, this is the thing, and that all sounds great, but it is so difficult today with trigger words and just people attempting in the media and social media trying to just flame you out and just get you so angst up. And you can't even get to that loving vessel if you're susceptible to these trigger words and the things that are going on in all of the media around us. So how do you get past one to survive and get into that vessel?
Well, that's probably the hardest thing to be witnessing right now, is the way people are relating to each other. And again, so I have to kind of look at it like it's kind of like a detox. Does that person really want to be spewing that kind of anger?
Right.
Does that really make them happy? It's sort of like patriarchy or somebody that's bought into the programming. Does that really work for you to deny the feminine? Does it really work for you to deny the masculine? Does it really help you to, fight for this one race or this one group, when really we're multidimensional beings and we're all one? But oneness is diversity and harmony, which means that all these diverse things about us, we can teach to get along. I mean, nature, sure, it attacks each other, but it's regenerative and it rebirths, and it's a part of the web of life, and it's order and chaos all in one. And that's actually a reflection of our soul, because it's earth, air, fire, water. It's also a reflection of our DNA. And, if we could feel more of a connection with nature and feel into that soul connection, it kind of takes us out of like the conflict. It gives us just the ability to reflect upon it all without needing to, really engage. But people aren't easily going to do that. So there are trigger words. I get triggered. I mean, so what? We get triggered. So how can we recognize that we all get triggered? There's trigger words, and look at what it does to us. That's what they want this to do to us. How can we come together and say, in the face of that, what are we going to choose in the face of that to avoid becoming the product of what they would like to see? And, in the very beginning, on a very sort of, they introduced sort of a virus on purpose so that we would be pushed to the edge and have no choice but to advance ourselves. And if we're not willing, yes, it doesn't look good, but it's not eternal. Nobody's banished to anything for good. It just might take a little bit to get yourself back. I mean, the whole deal is we're pushed to the edge until we have a breakthrough. And so what we're seeing is a lot of people who haven't had the breakthrough yet. They're still running off these triggers. They're still feeling very reactionary. maybe somebody who's being attacked is taking it too personally. But there's got to be something that rises out of all that and just says, it's okay. Can we look at each other like almost a dysfunctional family that not is necessarily going to therapy, but that goes on a great camping trip without being eaten by bears or without like Jason hanging out in the woods, coming to ruin the journey or trip. I mean, is there any way that we can take this, what feels like a dysfunctional family, which we've inherited from our own parents, we inherit it from the Anunnaki and all these pantheons and all their weirdness. Can we just consolidate all of this and integrate all of it and align with source and 0 point energy and not kind of, hold on to the past and let it infect our future and kind of laugh it off? Is that possible? Or are we just going to be mad at somebody in our community or in the outer world and not hold space for their healing? Because some people aren't in possession of themselves. If we're dealing with the MK Ultra society, if we're dealing with a world that has been shaped by social engineering, can't we cut each other a little bit of slack? Because we don't know what somebody else's journey has been.
No, we don't. And it could be anything. I could say right now, Laura, I could say apple pie. Somebody just got pissed off.
Right.
It's like
you just said that, Jimmy.
Are you upset?
I'm okay. I just want a piece. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, right? And I don't know how we got here with that. And I think that you don't even have to be part of this community, Laura. I think most know that they're being triggered and they don't even care. And they allow themselves to just go off and they know what's happening. They know it. It's such an obvious thing with society today, and it's everywhere. Nobody wants to stop and do anything about it.
Well, it has an addictive nature because it feeds adrenaline. It pulls people out of depression. It makes you feel alive. But does it have to be at the cost of us coming together in unity? I mean, can we, just be neutral observers until we have enough to go on? Can we find a way to have healthy debates and discussions to just know what's going on and what's what?
Laura,
that's all important stuff to look at.
Okay, Laura, we lost you. I don't know what happened. And I'm going to take a break right here. So I'm going to reset I'm just going to take a break. Let's do that. Our guest tonight is Laura Eisenhower. Great conversation. I'll be right back after this short break. It's Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Laura at Laura Eisenhower. It's right there. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Teppy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest, Laura Eisenhower. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern, right here. Thursday night, Fader night. Open lines all night long. Great conversation going on right now. And Laura, I want to go back to really quick. You made a comment a couple of breaks ago about our DNA being altered back in the Sumerian Egyptian wars. How do we know that our DNA was altered?
I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, we wouldn't easily fall into any kind of mind control trance if we were functioning at our true 12-strand DNA level. A lot of scientists have even noted that there's a lot of junk DNA. What is junk DNA? Well, when we start to activate our dormant strands of DNA, was that ever junk? No, it's the love story of creation. It's the synthesis of the masculine and feminine. It's the ability to bring in the ether and start to shift the nucleic acids that hold earth, air, fire, water, and begin to purify the DNA damage. I mean, a lot of people feel, oh, we can't heal this damage if we inherited it. We're kind of stuck with it. I mean, there's certain things that are deemed uncurable. Or we might live a lifestyle that begins to cause degradation, and, you know, whatever we inherited, we might, you know, take down a notch. But we also have the opportunity to take it up a notch, because when you look at the creative imagination and the things that we can tap into, all the possibilities exist. There's not any future scenario that doesn't exist right here in present time. But do we have the capacity to align with it? Can we set our intentions to receive it and manifest it? What is the quality of our creative channels? Are they holding other people's projections? Are they holding propaganda? Are they holding programmings? Or are we functioning from our divine instruction set that comes through our connection with 0 point energy? And when we look at the 0 point, what is that? It's also a unified field. So some things can be explained scientifically, but when we look at it as something that we hold within ourselves, then we can begin to upgrade. So we would be functioning on a completely different level if everything was switched on. That is what higher dimensional beings have. We're no different. Each one of us was encoded with 12-strand DNA and beyond. And we have a connection to the founder races, which are dimensions that aren't even on this earth, but are a part of this earth. Like when we look at the 13th gate, that's the core sun energy, the diamond sun inside the planet. It was not able to exist within the planet for the last 26,000 years because there were so many wars and so much conflict and so many planetary cataclysms that it threw us off the center. I mean, the planetary body was thrown off center, almost like our spinal columns being thrown off center where the Kundalini current can't flow. And I know people have issues with Kundalini. I don't want to really go there, but yeah. So, you know, there's a lot in our ancient history that speaks to this. And I mean, we have to just kind of look at the information that's coming through. And I've been researching this for a really long time. And it was pretty much 5,500 years ago that negative alien agenda groups ripped a 5D wormhole, put a rip in that, and started to rewrite history. And a lot of high vibrational energies became distorted. The Metatronic grid became distorted and infected. They introduced something after we fell from Tara into this lower harmonic universe. They created like a virus to give us this duality to grow from and learn from, but it ended up getting out of control because the dark beings that were playing the role of the dark beings, it just ended up going too far. And some of the more advanced races ended up getting power hungry over it and started to manipulate the timeline so that they could be the ones in charge. They could be the ones that are rulers, which is what archons really is. When we look at the root word arch, it means ruler. And we hear about archons and mind parasites and this and that. So this duality, I mean, we can just look at symbolically as the tree of knowledge, which is a dumbed down DNA version of who we are. And that's not a problem because it's not an absolute. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to regain the fullness of who we are with lessons being learned. You know, if we're going to misuse power at some place along the way, we can start to see that it only digresses us. And certain races that have chosen to remain in that digression have become the vampiric races that utilize AI and artificial intelligence and transhumanism to use this as a food source to fuel their technologies to continue their reign. You know, so that comes from a negative ego mentality. And so they're easily able to manipulate people who want to be in power because they already have it in them to want to be in power. And that just keeps everybody sort of enslaved. So I mean, there's so much research and there's so many years that I've put into it that, gosh, where do you get it from? It's like a lot of it's through meditation. A lot of it's through life experience. When I lived in the wilderness for a couple of years, it was like, you know, I mean, it's encoded in this planetary body that we're on an ascension planet and we have all this potential, and connecting into all of this is a really important thing. It depends, you know, who you trust as a researcher too. And you know, and what kind of downloads you get. Is it authentic? Is it coming from an imposter? You know, everybody's got to kind of be humble enough to ask themselves those kind of questions. And so the physical body is a great barometer or gauge. If the physical body agrees and it's able to advance itself, more than likely it's truth. But it's not truth if it's in a false light construct where it's relying on something to hold light. You have to lose everything to gain light in a lot of ways. I mean, that's what going into the underworld's all about. It's an initiation. Can you lose everything and still recognize the beauty of all that you are, that you have love and wisdom, even if you don't have that car, you don't have a bank account filled with money, you don't have, you know, the love of your life just yet? Can you still wake up and still keep going? You know, but there's the false light, which is, well, let's kind of give you an artificial version of it where it seems fulfilling and it will sustain you for so long. And then that light burns out because it's not from true source light. It's from how the ego feels really awesome, right? But if you were to rip all those things away from a person, then where are they? Well, if they can survive the underworld, if they can survive the loss, they can survive the death, then what follows? Rebirth, alchemy, transformation. And so death is never an ending. It's cyclical. It's always about, moving through the initiation to get to a higher and better place. But, when we look at maiden, mother, and crone even, the crone is all about being able to walk in the darkness and hold the lantern of light, which comes from the inner light.
Right.
So we're all tested. Adversity is a blessing. We tend to look at it as a curse or a misfortune. We feel ashamed of it. And that's the key to unlocking these dormant strands of DNA, because we've lost the fear connected to, what will other people think? And we've also lost the fear of our own darkness. And we've also let go of where dark forces are playing us, because we're willing to integrate both light and dark within ourselves. So the more we can embrace all of who we are and not choose sides, I mean, the outer thing is going to make us want to choose sides, but we got to kind of step back and say, it's not about what's playing out on the world stage. It's not about what we read in the news and even alternative media. We got to look at all that and ask ourselves, how are we reacting to it? How does it make us feel? How do we operate from this point forward? And when we choose to just step back and take a deep breath and recognize that this is kind of reflecting to us almost our own health on an emotional, physical, spiritual, and emotional level, I think I didn't, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I agree. And what I find interesting here is you also mentioned, attaching to those in power. And here we have, your last name, your great grandfather. We have the ET encounter at Holloman. And did any of that information transfer down, through your family and to you about what that was about? And could it have been about not only the ET presence here on Earth, but DNA and unlocking that? I think it's a very interesting point that you make.
Yeah, I mean, the ET treaties, there's sort of the surface rumors. Anybody who wants to Google the Greada Treaty, they're going to probably run into Eisenhower more than anybody else, but it didn't originate with him. By the time he stepped into office, it was considered a surrender, because these treaties had been in the works for quite some time. And 1926 was the first year that researchers noted, and we're talking people like William Cooper, we're talking, folks that understand cheilontic science. We're talking about, people like Phil Schneider, and a lot of people that were exposing this stuff. Were they suicided? They were clearly probably murdered, and I think a lot of people know that. But the ET presence started to interact with our governments as early as 1926. And you can figure that by the time the Greada Treaty took place, we were already in the grips of all this. The Second World War, I mean, there's so many different layers to it, and there's so much false information connected to it that we don't need to battle like what's right and what's wrong, or what's truth and what's not truth, but we can at least probably agree upon this divide and conquer scenario. And unity consciousness really means that we're sharing codes, we're sharing strands of DNA, we're sharing our part of the greater puzzle that has to all connect. The minute we choose one piece that everybody needs to align with, we negate. Actually, we're only screwing ourselves over, like I said before. So the ET government treaties, I mean, there was a lot of different species involved. Some wanted their dying race to be saved, or at least that's how they presented it. But people don't realize that the NSA has a unit connected to it called the Moon Unit, and they were responsible for keeping these treaties alive, but they created an outer facade and a storyline so that we would look at these sort of outer figures as being responsible. So a lot of my presentations when I go to events cover these sort of things, but it does relate to DNA. So, there's the Earth grids are a replica of our DNA. So 26,000 years ago, something called the Nephilim reversal grid was put in place, which folks like Lisa Renee talk about. Check her out, energeticsynthesis.com, to impact the ley lines and the stargates, to control the stargates, which would in turn compromise our DNA and control us. And the dodecahedron, which is a platonic solid connected to the ether, was put in reversal coding so that we wouldn't be able to connect with the ether and purify the elements and keep our DNA at a high functioning level. And so the Venus transits, which the Mayans talked about, have corrected those reversals. And in 2010, the sun started to move into the zodiac sign, the Ophiuchus. And I think people have heard about, oh, wow, there's a 13th sign. And that represents the activation of the 13th gate. And that particular sign, called Ophiuchus, is ruled by the ether. It's the only zodiac sign that's ruled by the ether. Every other zodiac sign, as we all know, are earth, air, fire, water. It's like, hey, I'm a Libra, air sign. Hey, I'm an Aries, fire sign. Hey, I'm a Taurus, earth sign. You know, it's all earth, air, fire, water. But there's never been ether until 2010. And in 2010, that's when the hosting of the Ascension timeline switched from a patriarchal agenda, which didn't start out with that intention. It just got infiltrated and compromised, you know, with the hopes that we would wake up. Like, that's why that virus was put in place, to help us wake up. But it actually, like I said, went too far. So in 2010, when the sun started to move through Ophiuchus, the 13th sign, the hosting of the Ascension timeline switched over to the crystal star hosting. The Aquafarian started to come back in, and just to not throw out a bunch of names and, names, what it really represents is the Milky Way and Andromeda galaxy becoming one again, which begins to activate our 8th and 9th chakra, which holds the infinity spiral, which begins to advance our physical vessel into something that is way more fun than it's been. But we haven't had access to that. And what's funny is when you look at the alignment of, okay, 2010, we started to move into the 13th sign. That's also around the time that the Mayans predicted this huge shift. You know, but they were playing on, the end of the world. It was actually a rebirth of the world. It was actually like a major positive shift. But as long as they can grab our consciousness and belief systems to make us think otherwise,
right,
we would have been screwed. So it's not about us being victims to these dark agendas. It's about us being victims to our own belief systems based on the stuff that we're being fed. So if we can just look at it and say, I don't need to adopt that. I don't need to fear that. I don't need to think that this is the trajectory that the human race is going down. You know, we got to step back and take a deep breath. What does my inner self tell me? What do my dreams and visions want to manifest? And that's where we need to be operating from. So we did good. People are like, nothing happened in 2012. Actually, the fact that nothing significant happened was a really good sign. It gave us a lot of breathing room to begin to rehabilitate and understand the greater picture. So what really shows where we've been dumbed down DNA-wise is revealed in a lot of metaphorical stories, mythologies, and also, knowing on an astronomical and astrological level that the sun moved into Ophiuchus in 2010, and those that have been tracking the planet Venus to validate what the Mayans understood, the orbit of Venus draws a perfect pentagram in the sky to turn the reversals upright again, to keep digression from happening and to correct it. So what corrects it? Venus. What does Venus represent? The heart. So we could put it down to divine feminine energies, but at the same time that becomes polarized. We have to look at it like sacred union. The only way to heal DNA is to recognize sacred union between the masculine and feminine. The reason the divine feminine gets a lot of attention is because it's been exiled and compromised. But if we don't look the other direction and realize how much the masculine's been compromised, then we're in a power trip, and that's not going to help. We have to notice that our whole energy body is made of the positive, negative, masculine and feminine, electric, magnetic, and it's an exact replica of the earth grids. And our multidimensional creation is a replica of all our chakras that go beyond the 7 chakras. And when we start to move beyond the 7 chakras, we're not recycled into this time loop anymore. We start to hold the capacity to come and go as we please, and we get our freedom back. And that's what true sovereignty is. And it's not like, oh, it's only for some or some chosen ones. Every single person is encoded with this. The only difference is who trusted enough, who can be in alignment with enough, or in alignment with it enough to allow the activation process to actually take place, and who chooses not to, whether it's unconscious or not, to stay in this lower realm of being reactive, being in duality, being in this conquer divide, and just throwing a lot of negative stuff around. People think if you understand conspiracy, you must be awake. Truly being awake means that you're not going to play into the agenda. We can know stuff till we're blue in the face. Knowledge it is an important prerequisite to unity consciousness, but it's not enough. We have to be heart-based. We have to be forgiving and compassionate. I know it sounds all so cliche, but knowledge is not enough. Knowledge was the first step, though. So if we don't go into the heart, then people are getting arrogant about the knowledge they think they have. And they're not humble enough to recognize that it's not outer knowledge we really have, it's inner knowledge, knowledge of self. And yes, we might have researched something, we might know something enough, we can bring it to the table and say, hey, let's make this a part of the conversation. But the minute we start to own it and project it as being the ultimate truth, we've fallen into a trap, and there's no way to create unity consciousness from that place. So we have to say, well, I know enough, and so do you, and we're kind of on the same way. Like, no, let's give each other a hug, and just be embodied, for God's sake. You know what I mean?
And there's now I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone a little bit, because all of that is great, and I think we can all agree that it's a cool concept. Then you have the other side, which is hard science, which is suggesting that free will is an illusion, that everything is math and the universe runs on math, and it's going to play out. You think you're making a decision, but you are not. That everything is going to happen the way it's going to happen, and there is no free will. Now, if that scientist that is on that path gets knocked over the head and is suddenly being awakened, does that change the science, right?
I would say so, because when you move into higher dimensional energies, the physics change. So if in a 3D dimensional reality, which we tend to call this place, even though it's way beyond that, if we're attaching ourselves to the programmings of a 3D mindset, we're very vulnerable to the nanoparticles and chemtrails, the toxicity in our environment, in our waters, in our food, and we can get real ill. And I'm not saying people who are ill don't have higher consciousness at all, but it poses a challenge. It presents a challenge. Every challenge is an opportunity. It's not a problem. There's no real such thing as misfortune. Everything is a balancing act. If something starts to veer you over in a certain direction, how can you reel it back? By connecting to its polar, till you can integrate those polarities. And then boom, something happens. So science can take us so far. A lot of the stuff I talk about is actually based in science, but it's the integration of science and spirituality. Science can explain only so much, but can we really explain, love? Okay, well, I guess we could look at it like things fire off and there's pheromones and there's this on in the brain and there's chemistry.
Right.
But as an astrologer, I see it from a different perspective. As somebody who works with the tarot and has been for, 20 plus years, you can see it more in an archetypal landscape, which is still scientifically based. Because if you look at those archetypal energies, they still hold a basis in nature, in elemental energies, in animals that we know exist, in plants we know exist, but different levels of the animal kingdom, whether it's a crystal to like a slug, whether it's a dolphin to, a ravaging, I don't know. I don't want to.
Rhinoceros. Yes.
Right. And I was going to say dinosaur. I'm like, okay, now I'm just going to off a tangent. Like, and the dinosaurs, like, from my theory is, but, the whole point is, we got to look at the whole. The minute we polarize ourselves to science, we kind of lose spirituality. If we polarize ourselves to spirituality, we might lose touch with the science. So if we can pull the two together, then both can advance themselves within our own being, because our awareness is going to change the frequency and the laws. So, so it's just like science can become too intellectual. Spirituality can be too emotional. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of flying off a stream of consciousness here, but it's the integration that really counts, because a lot of people are picking sides without realizing they're blocking a part of their own being. They're denying a part of their own being, and it's going to catch up with them. It's not like love everything and trust everything, even though, the love part's huge. There's going to be places where we need to have universal love and forgiveness, and other places where we feel more of a personal affinity.
Right.
Forgiveness, some people aren't ready to forgive certain things. But we have to see what's operating behind the scenes. We have to know who's who. And this is what this cycle is about too. Figuring out who's who without jumping to conclusions too soon. Because if everybody's saying, if you're going to tell this story, let's see some proof. Well, if you're going to accuse that person of doing something, you need just as much proof. Like, I've been battling somebody who says, you're not an Eisenhower, you haven't proved it, and how dare you still talk to this day and you haven't proven your identity. It's just like, any one of my friends or even my husband could call my mom right now and she'd probably tell everybody, like, hey, this is my daughter. And, it's just, it depends on the mindset. I don't even know why I brought that up. It's because
and I hear Kevin in the background. And Kevin, I know you can hear me. I hope you're taking notes. Have you seen have you seen a change in Kevin now that he's hung out with you, or is it the other way around?
Oh gosh, I think it's both of us. He's been following me since 2011, and I was kind of his go-to person. I had no idea, and I'm just amazed. Because, I look at myself as sort of a metaphor of all this stuff, too. We all have to do this. I'm going from old paradigm in myself where really crappy relationships, and I don't want to name names or, go into it. It's not like they were all horrible, but
Kevin's laughing. Hey,
yeah,
Kevin, it's good to hear your voice, by the way. And Kevin's one of the most woke guys I know. His eyes are alive. But yeah, you're right about that. And I think we all go through the same transformations.
Yeah. So we're moving from, stuff that could have really tore us apart, people that have been, highly compromised or been in really horrible relationships or had terrible childhoods or remember incredibly traumatizing past lives. Humanity is traumatized. Boom. Every single person was born into a gaping wound. Being born into this humanity means you are born into a gaping wound. We all carry a different piece of this larger planetary wound. If we're in denial of it, then we're going to act out. We might become narcissists. We might become control freaks because we're not willing to admit that maybe we're hurting on some level or we feel wronged. Some people might go into a revenge mode and join some dark cult or some dark society and want to take it out on everybody. And other people might just turn to God or some religion and miss out on a piece of themselves because they're being programmed by guilt or shame, across the board, when we look at the, humanity, everybody's handling some form of trauma or wounding in their own way. So if we could at least come together as a humanity and say, okay, we can at least admit we're all damaged, we're all wounded, but that's just kind of on a surface level. If we start to peel off the layers and get to the core of who we are, we're incorruptible. We can heal from anything. We are so brilliant and magnificent, and there's no reason to delay our ability to step into it. But if we can't be real with each other, there's no way, because then we're only acting out the injury, either because we're wearing a mask or either because we feel embarrassed by it. Either we pretend it doesn't exist or we're ashamed that it exists. Can't we just meet each other in the middle? And that's kind of the stance that I have. So when I see what's being played out in the community, I see both sides and everything in between playing out. And the only thing I want is to just breathe in the center as a neutral observer and just hold a space of love, because I swear every time I feel like I'm being pulled in one direction or another, it doesn't feel good. And it actually, at this point, my body reminds me that's not where it's at. That's not what this is calling forth. And so this is why I feel on a lot of levels that we're kind of being tested. How can we face duality and rise above it? And when we're faced with something outside of ourselves that is giving us that feeling of division, can we be that example of unification? And in that, we're not dismissing something. We're not saying that certain things shouldn't be held accountable. We're giving the immune system an opportunity to expel the things that have been compromising the vessel. When we get sick, does it really help us to battle the illness, or does it help us to enhance the immune system so that the things that don't serve us can fall away? And that's kind of my approach. And this is what this ascension is about. What is unity? And I've been saying this for years that I almost feel really redundant, but when we come together and we can just choose to peacefully put these thoughts and ideas together, we're creating something huge. And I think that's the lesson for why what we're seeing is going on, even on the political sphere.
Yes.
People don't like Trump. People don't like it. It's like, whatever. It doesn't matter about these outer characters. What we want is for the crimes against humanity to stop, and for child trafficking to stop, for pedophilia to stop. Whatever about the political stuff, this is the priority. And same with like feeding and clothing individuals. Let's get that piece down, and then let's talk politics. Because politics doesn't make any sense with all this other stuff in the background, sort of,
staring
and
at
this
us.
is, I think this is the true waking up process, is saying, hey, you guys, if they're brave enough to speak, can we be brave enough to listen?
Let's take a break right there. Perfect spot. Wow. Heavy, but you're absolutely right, Laura. And we need to recognize this is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Laura Eisenhower. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station. Salt Lake City, Utah. Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Teppy.
secret. I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Spirited discussion and conversation tonight with Laura Eisenhower. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern is here. And, of course, Thursday night is Fader Night. Open lines all night long. And back to the conversation. Laura, you were talking about duality right before the break. I want to go back to that for a second because it's a duality world and existence that the duality list is infinite. It's long. How do you escape that?
Just the willingness to just recognize both sides, all sides. I mean, in a relationship, imagine if somebody was like my way or the highway. And I think all of us in the back of our head could say to ourselves, oh yeah, I've been with that person. I know what that looks like. You've either been that person or you've dealt with that person. And does that create a healthy relationship? The same thing within ourselves, the same thing with community. The thing is, the micro and the macro, they're no different from each other. The same laws and principles that apply to the smallest organism apply to the largest. And I was talking about, just the DNA relationship with Earth grids and the chakra relationship with the multidimensional cosmos. So duality is our teacher. We recognize that it doesn't really work. I mean, we feel pain when there's conflict and fighting. That comes from duality. We feel physical symptoms when there's imbalance within our own system on a physical level. If our emotions aren't balanced, we run towards those trigger words and we get undone and derailed. We don't feel into like maybe the humor or the, just because they said that doesn't mean that, they're my father or mother or ex or past life, persecutor. They just said, I'm going to take the trash out and it just ruined your day, So, we can hear something and just shift the energy right away, or we can dwell in it and actually have it mess with us for weeks and months. It really depends. And it's not a certain type of personality necessarily, because we're not fixed to anything. It just has to do with something that maybe you just need a little bit of assistance with, which is where unity consciousness comes in. A lot of people feel very isolated and alone, like they don't know how to reach out. They don't know how to ask for help. That's why I love doing what I do, because it's like, hey, I'm that person. I work with astrology. I work with these tools. And my hope is that we can liberate ourselves from the wheel and not be so thrown around by all these planetary forces, but we can graduate to the higher octaves of the planetary consciousness. Because Saturn on the lowest level is control, limitation, and blockage. The highest level of Saturn is teacher and mastery, right? So if we're vibrating at a low level of any of the planetary forces that affect us, it's not going to be fun. But if we can see it as an opportunity to move into these other levels of it, we don't really need that map anymore. And we go right into a place of neutrality, not neutrality like where you're numb and you can't feel anything, but neutrality where you're not just being pulled and like poked at and feeling like really off, because that's duality. When we recognize that duality are two things that want to actually be married, and we allow them to be married in our own system, or recognize the divine blueprint already has them united, then alchemy can begin to happen. We're taught duality, but it's not in our nature or our DNA. So when the earth grids got messed with and they unplugged certain things, and they put certain things in reversal, it was specifically to throw off the union of the masculine and feminine and our relationship of the light and dark, spirituality and science, anything that we could say, these are polarities. It purposely split them apart so that we would pick sides. And now it's gotten out of control because we see it in the political sphere to the point where, yeah, sometimes it does make sense to choose a side because, they take turns with infiltrating one side or the other. But if we can recognize that that was the whole thing they wanted to infect, the whole concept of balance and unity, and drop the intensity towards, oh, I got to pick this or pick that, pick yourself and pick the internal balance, you're going to shift the world around you. So if our immune system is able to wipe out disease, can't us deciding to be unified within ourselves and be in balance within ourselves change our governments, change the world, change our dynamic amongst each other? So every single one of us has that responsibility. So I have a lot of clients that come to me like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. I'm like, your purpose is no different than mine. You know, I might just be a loudmouth out here, you know, it doesn't make me special. It's just, that's the thing too. Nobody should put anybody on a pedestal. Whether you're visible or not visible doesn't make you better or worse. It's not easy to be visible and it's not easy to be hidden. So when we come together, we can start to share these things and be like, okay, we're all kind of the same person, but let's not get creepy about it. Diversity.
Let's not get creepy about it. Well, take me back for a second, because you weren't always this way. What did you go through? What was your initiation into this consciousness? Exactly. I need to hear this from you.
Oh, well, I mean, okay. So as a child, I was always aware that I had like a mission. You know, it's kind of like, what am I doing in the Eisenhower family? I mean, how random is this? I'm like, I can't even pass the citizenship test. I'm not politically minded. I started to really connect with Eisenhower's spirit, and, you know, and that's secondary to what I need to say, because, you know, I clearly, you know, him and I have an agreement, and I love him and I appreciate his role, and I'm here to correct anything that didn't go right. But it's not me that's correcting it. It's many of us. But I just want to give a voice to it.
Oh, we lost you, Laura. Oh, we lost Laura. Can you believe that?
This pain, agony, overcoming. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been like, oh yeah, you know, I was given this and I'm so privileged. It's more like, well, I raised twins on welfare and food stamps. I lived in the wilderness for a couple of years. I had to survive Mars recruitment and, you know, and all these things that were going to, you know, destroy me, and recognizing, you know, what do I really stand for? I understand that the power of the human spirit overrides everything. So my big wake up call was feeling like I can't do this. I'm not going to make it, you know, and just freaking out. Like I didn't even have any friends. Like I didn't even like, oh, maybe I'll join Facebook. I had like one friend or two friends before Facebook. And then I'm like posting just thoughts that I have and truth that I have. I'm like, oh my gosh, like people are listening, and they actually, some people like me, you know, because I grew up in DC. Who's going to like want to talk to me? I'm like a really, you know, beyond politics. I'm in the galactic, right? And I used to have these stigmas like, oh, you're just really out there, or, you know, you're just, you know, so I think my big awakening, I mean, all kids are pretty awake. I think my big awakening was letting go of the stigmas and the attacks and finding my self-worth regardless, even though I still struggle with it, but I found it enough to be able to continue with my mission, knowing that my heart's in the right place. So I think just those conclusions have been my wake-up call. I'm not awake in the sense that I feel like I have all the answers, but I've always been awake enough to know that I have a deep and profound devotion and love for the human race, and I know what we're capable of, and I'm not going to buy into anything less, and I'm not going to have any fear about it. I mean, I do have fear, though. I'm human, but it's very stupid fears, like, oh my God, my husband, does he really love me? Or can I really, like, you know, mail this letter and fill out this paperwork for this thing that my kid needs? Am I going to be able to get my visa passport? I mean, those are my concerns and fears. Like, as far as timelines, agendas, reptilian agenda, it's like, seriously, those things don't fear me or scare me. That's like, that's a done deal. We are made of so much magnificence that we were born victorious. But can we give ourselves that acknowledgement? Can we remember that? Because we've already experienced everything already, as far as I'm concerned, because there is no time. There's no linear time. We experience it to teach us lessons, but when it all comes down to it, the architecture that we're made of, our soul architecture, the archetypes, everything that we're made of, is not at war, but we experience this human realm to come into this particular picture to see, if somebody's obnoxious playing the game of Lost and Found, it's like you're at some summer camp, like, let's play Lost and Found. Like, okay, I'm going to hide. 1, 2, 3, it's like play hide and go seek. It's like on a galactic and cosmic and earthly level, that's kind of what we're doing. It's kind of like, okay, I found me, I lost me, and I found me. What is there to fear about that? Because the worst case scenario, you're going to find yourself. Or actually the worst case scenario is that you're going to be looking for. Did you see that Monty Python where they did the hide and go seek Olympics? It took 7 years to find the dude, but I'm just saying, like, it is a game of Lost and Found. We have nothing to fear. I've never been worried about that. It's just, I don't want to appear like a dysfunctional human while I try and play human. It's not that I'm beyond human. It's just the programmings in the Matrix are just like, God, this is just ridiculous.
How do we know? How do you know, Laura, that you have free will? I mean, how do you answer that for yourself? Because, well, the astrology helps because it gives me data, right? Because I like data. I don't like just idealism or just, oh, that sounds nice. I like concrete facts. It's like, I might think this, but I want something to ground it and anchor it. So the planet Neptune and things about the 12th house relate to the creative imagination. We look into the sky. We see the universe. We see the vastness of everything. It's not just empty space. That's our inspiration to draw upon. It's showing that there's something endless and infinite. And so if there's endless and infinite and we can give a dream or a vision like to that, kind of like a musician, right? Let's not even talk Adrian Blue, but talk about, I heard Kevin laugh. That was good. I like the way you got that in there, Laura. That was pretty cool.
But divine inspiration is like, we can push the envelope. That's what music and art's about. That's what being a dreamer is all about. When we start to play by the rules, we got to ask ourselves, is that cosmic law and natural law? Cosmic law and natural law is going to keep us healthy and it's going to keep us aligned as a vessel that's able to receive divine inspiration. But we come into this experience that says, oh, you're going to be arrested for that. Oh, that's against the law. And it makes us really constricted and paranoid. So the reason I know that the sky's the limit is because we have the free will to decide what we're going to energize and pay attention to. It doesn't mean, oh, because I don't agree with the man-made laws that I'm just going to run around and put myself in a position where I could get arrested. I mean, we got to kind of, be careful. And some of those laws are appropriate, just because to me, if you're an advanced being, you've got to hold the hand of the slowest hiker. You got to be able to say, if I'm here and I have anything to offer, it's not an ego thing. Let me hold the hand of the person that's struggling the most and invite them to see a different kind of reality. So you're working with laws on that level. So I think a lot about Saturn and every planet because I'm an astrologer and I'm like completely like planets, Neptune, Saturn, Jupiter. And, and each of them have properties that relate to our chakras and our glands. And even the galactic zodiac is embedded in the Earth grid. So, if you're nerdy enough like me, you start to see how it all connects.
Have the charts ever been wrong?
There's a little, there's some things that are a little bit off just because we're not really functioning off of complete and total accuracy. I mean, one can't completely submit themselves to any belief or any, so I use it as a tool. It's not the end all be all.
Right.
I use it as a tool to help liberate, but I've been doing it for long enough to see the accuracy, the consistency, to the point where it's blown my mind enough to be able to do it for a living without feeling like, why am I doing this? I'm not a charlatan. I refuse to do that. I wouldn't say I'd rather die, but I'd rather eat hay with no water and choke. I don't know.
I asked you earlier to do my charts. I'm not asking you to do that now, but what kind of charts do you use?
I do heliocentric charts, which are from the perspective of before you came into this incarnation, what kind of agreements do you have? And then a lot of the times, then I'll go to the natal chart. Okay, so what happened the minute you landed? What kind of patterning ended up, coming into play with this particular intention? Because once you hit physical reality, everything can shift. You can be a really higher dimensional being. The minute you start to move into this sector of the galaxy, though, it's just sort of like with all the distortions, anything is possible. And it could be completely contradictory to the reason you even showed up.
Bingo.
But the North and South Node are going to give a picture of the deeper soul journey. The reason why you might have come in with a really high vibrational mission, but ended up in a really difficult situation, right? From a human perspective, without knowing the bigger picture, it can feel, you just want to, you feel like a victim. It's just like, what did I do? I'm an advanced being. What did I do? I get that a lot with my clients. You look at the heliocentric chart. It's like, well, because you have all this, you can handle that. So a lot of people have to realize some of the most advanced beings take on the hardest stuff. But we have amnesia. We don't always remember our agreements.
Well, exactly. And so, Laura, I know you. I don't know. We're not best friends, but I know you.
You're one of my best friends.
Okay. What I mean by that is, do you ever look at your charts and then go the other way and maybe be a little bad?
Like go the other way, like, oh, that aspect would show up in the chart.
Yeah.
The charts aren't like, this is the best that you could be. It shows the whole picture. And the thing is, I hold a lot of ethics when I read somebody. I go by, what do you want to see? I'm not just like, oh, I'm going to predict this for you. It's like, I've seen how these tools can be completely misused. And I live by just ethics. It's like, I am so honored, for somebody to give me that kind of information. It's like, it's a huge responsibility. I'm not going to,
No, I'm not talking. Yeah. Hold on. I got to jump in. I'm not talking about somebody else's charts. I'm talking about yours. And you are reading it. You're not speaking it out loud. This is in your own mind. Only you know what's going on. Do you ever play it a little devious?
Well, I think you've known me enough to know that, seriously, am I a perfect person? My heart's in the right place, and I think that's all that matters.
Right.
No, I have aspects of my chart, especially my energy signature I was born with, that has a lot to do with family agreements. Being born into the Eisenhower family, there's some pretty gnarly things that led up to this for me to be born into this bloodline. I see that, but I was born at home in England and nobody wrote down my birth time. So isn't that weird? You're an astrologer. I never expected it would be my day job. I was really encouraged because of the readings I had given all throughout my life. And I finally just went for it. And then, I started to become a speaker and putting my stuff out there. But yeah, I don't have a freaking stellar chart. I mean, there's some great aspects, but I got my pitfalls and I got my stuff to, have to work with and learn from. But I don't have my exact birth time, and I know how important having the exact birth time is. And I'm like, Mom, what time I was born? She's like, 10 o'clock. I'm like, we call him Pa for some weird reason. What time was I born? He's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, that's a really wide gap. So I've meditated on it. I've come as close as I can to my own personal birth time. It really shows my charts. I got 7 without knowing the birth time. I have 7 signs that are ruled by Libra, and the rest are like Pluto, Scorpio, right? So it's very much that whole Venus going into the underworld. And, I'm a mega Libra, but I also have Taurus energies, which is ruled by Venus. So altogether, it's like 7 things ruled by Venus and almost the same amount like Scorpio, Pluto. And so I keep warning Kevin. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so intense. My whole world is about sacred union and relationships. And, for most people, it's like, I don't think a lot of people would be able to handle it. And, that it's true love when somebody can handle it, because all I want to do is work global energy, and we have to heal our archetypal patterns. We have to reset everything, and it's all about this and that. And it's like, that's a really scary date, compared to talking about, I like to fish and I like to hunt. And, well, I don't know about all that. It's not my profile. But when your whole mission is about sacred union and alchemical marriage and this and that, I mean, I wrote a book about it, which will be published soon. Part of the book got destroyed. That's a long story. That's my arena, and that's all I process, right? And so even if I just want to let go of the day, and if I were to put something on Netflix, I want to see just the world of relationships and partnerships. And Rita has the same birthday as me. I know she can relate. I'm sure she has pretty much the same aspects as I do. So some of us just give a voice to it, but it doesn't mean that if you don't have those astrological aspects that you don't have it. And that's what unity consciousness is that I was born with this energy signature, and it's going to light up something in your energy signature, and it's going to have a ripple effect, but we have to be willing to put the pieces together. And if certain pieces don't belong together, then we need to find where its home is at instead of, bashing it, or, that's racism, saying, oh, your puzzle piece is over there. It's like so far away from my puzzle piece that something's wrong with you. It's like, no, that's a part of the masterpiece. That's a part of the greater masterpiece. How can we even begin to think that it's a problem? Anyway, I could go off on tangents. I'm surprised you haven't interrupted me and said, look,
I am just glued to this conversation, and we're going to hit a break right here. I want to ask you this really quick, and I'll see if I can get, you've got 3.5 minutes, Laura, squeeze it in. I have seen, and I know that others have too, you have gone through transformation in the last couple of years. Maybe Kevin has something to do with it. I don't know. But you have. Do you recognize that? Do you see the changes? Because I think you practice what you preach is where I'm going with this. Do you see those subtle changes that you've gone through in the last couple of years?
I'd like to say yes. And I just, I don't have any other reason than to be honest, because it wouldn't make sense if I was anything less. I have gone through changes. It's more like I'm still working on acclimating to the reality of my current situation. I feel really good about where we're all heading, even though everything has been stirred up and it feels a little bit awkward. That's okay. I feel like there's so many of us that are in a good place on a personal level that is going to be able to guide this forward and sort of, smooth the rough edges. I mean, where I feel I have changed is I've definitely put on a lot of weight. Every once in a while I have a cigarette, and I'm not a normal smoker. So those are the darker sides. On the more positive side is, as long as my kids are doing good, I'm doing good. And I've seen changes in them. And I only can see my reality through their eyes, because it's not really about me. The minute I birthed kids, it was like, only if they're okay, I'm okay. And I met a man that I adore that has made a difference in their lives. And of course, he's made a difference in mine. But I'm still coming back into my body, because I think, like, I die so many times that everything's surreal. I'm like, I'm not really here. I'm like kind of out there. But if certain things are looking good, I know it's all okay. And when I get enough indication that it's all okay, I'll really get grounded. And I'm sort of midway. I'm not totally out of my body, which I was for like 20 years. That's part of my book. I'm like midway. And I get closer and closer every day because of this unconditional love that this person holds for me, and this beautiful location, and the fact that I really feel like my boys are going to be okay. And I was really worried for a while, and I'm not one to worry. Well, let's not go into that. But, I have my cards to shuffle just in case. Just knowing that, like, it's just a miracle that he came into my life. It was like, it was one of those things you have to say yes to, but if you said no to, you would never see that person again. It might have come back around. I don't know. But I mean, I just feel like, and I used to have these kind of dreams when I was growing up, that like at the last minute, like, almost like a movie, like that one thing that you did made all the difference in the world. And it was so minuscule, but if you hadn't shown up for that moment, it could be all different. And so I thank my lucky stars, but I don't think it's luck. I just think it's how much I've cried and pleaded and begged. Well, I don't want to say beg. That sounds kind of needy. But I've just really been like, please, this isn't about me, because my heart is holding as many people as I possibly can. Even, it might be the whole of humanity or the whole planet. And that's not because I have something that other people don't. Everybody does that. But how we choose to show up is what's going to make a difference. And I made a commitment a long time ago that I'm here for humanity. I'm here for ascension. And my personal life needs to mirror the success of this. And the fact that I can wake up breathing every day in a safe environment is a good indication to me, because I set that intention. And if everybody else could do that to themselves, to say, I want my life to match my deeper mission, my goals, the things that matter most to me, then your life will, communicate back to you, and it'll tell you where you need to adjust. It'll tell you what you need to listen to. It will tell you, it'll guide you. There's no person that we can put on a pedestal. There's no person in our community that is going to give those answers. But if we can all answer to that within ourselves, we're going to come together holding hands and just really feel, something incredible. I really feel that. So,
let's take a break right here. We're going to do a little overtime, and so tell Kevin to be patient. And we're going to hang on and come back right after the short break. We're going to pick this up. Can't stop now. Our guest is Laura Eisenhower. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Listen to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi folks, CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. There's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
This is Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black, doing some overtime with Laura Eisenhower. That's right. I do want to remind everybody, tomorrow night is Nick Redfern. Thursday night, of course, is Fader night. And this weekend, Laura's going to be out in Albuquerque at the Stargate Conference. And Laura, the information for all of that is on your website, right? Laura.
Yes, Jimmy, I'm here.
Okay, don't do that. Don't scare me. The Stargate Conference, the information is on your website?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It's cosmicgaia.org.
There you go, cosmicgaia.org, and the links for that are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Now, I want to change gears a little bit and have some fun. I want to talk, we talked about one big D, which was discernment earlier. I want to talk about the other big D, disclosure. Things feel strange to me right now. Where are we? Are we getting close?
Wow, like with all these D's is like D-Day.
I know. I know.
Are we getting close? Yes, I do feel we are. I think there's a lot of really strong friendships and a lot of investment into certain people's information that a lot of people won't settle for anything less than some sort of epiphany or breakthrough. And I think everybody that's in this community is moving in that direction, even if it doesn't seem that way right now. But that's just my opinion. It's my assessment. And that's also the space I want to hold, because I don't want to go into the, oh, I can't believe this happened or that happened. It's like, I do have those, and I do appreciate people coming forward with their thoughts about that. So don't get me wrong. Like, oh, you know, if you were to publicly say what you think about what's going on, it's negative. I don't agree. I don't think it's negative, but my place in it all is I don't want to go there. I just want to breathe into an outcome that I would like to see and appreciate all the different components that are a part of that journey forward. Kind of like, you know, choo choo, we're on a choo choo train, and here's this part of the car. You know, it's like, I just want to just observe. And from this perspective, in the here and now, I have a lot of confidence about where it's going, because it would be the same thing if, you know, somebody, or gosh, I want to choose the right example. When somebody gets like a diagnosis that could possibly scare them, right? Everybody freaks out, but somebody's got to, and I'm not saying, you know, I'm that somebody, but I think deep down in all of us, we have the capacity to hold space for the ultimate beautiful outcome, no matter how it looks, no matter what somebody says about it, no matter what opinion is there. But yet it doesn't mean that all those opinions don't hold weight. All those opinions are important. They are catalysts to be able to discern what is the truth you're going to stand for. And each individual has a choice right now. Some people could say, oh, you know, I can't believe this person did that. I can't believe that's happening. And yeah, I'm processing the same kind of stuff and I get it. But because, you know, I'm kind of out there in public, I know that I like to hold a container for all that kind of stuff to just be what it is and just be like, okay, let it all play out. And I've talked to people that are close to you, of course, that reminded me of the importance of that, and let it all play out.
Well, I know that you know, I speak enough publicly, and I interface with so many that I know that disclosure is for most is only one thing, and that is the big announcement coming out of Washington. Aliens are here, and we've made contact, and that's it, right? And until that happens, there is no disclosure. I know that my own personal take on that is I don't need that. I've seen enough and witnessed enough to know my own answers to the questions. But for so many, they will not accept anything else, anything less than that. How do we combat that?
Well, people have to recognize that it's an attachment. I don't want to call it an addiction, but it's kind of like the minute you set your sight on something, just kind of like a person having a crush. Oh, well, if this person doesn't love me back, my whole world is over. Or, if this political sphere doesn't end up in this direction, then we're all screwed. Or if disclosure doesn't do it in this way, we have a lot to complain about. And, and I see this in these battles between people that might seem like Trump supporters that actually don't really like Trump's character. It's not about Trump. They're into, the deep state being shut down and, internal things going on within the shadow government that are making a difference that the Trump administration is creating breathing room for. It has nothing to do with whether or not they like Trump. It's not like, everything about his character is something that I would want in a partner. It's not about that. It's about looking at the larger picture. So, everything that's unfolding, everybody has a particular relationship to. And the minute we start to attach ourselves to what they're thinking, or the minute they attach themselves to what they think it should be, then we are kind of losing our center. And I don't want to lose my center. And I notice myself losing my center because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Or, oh, this is how I feel. Or, oh, I'm processing this. And so I'm trying to I'm trying to get in touch with the fact that this is a huge test. And I'm being tested too. We're all being tested. How can I maintain unity consciousness? How can I maintain clarity in this storm right now? And just hold space for all this kind of craziness and not read into it too much. And like I said before, see it as kind of a detox and it's going to clear and help, encourage people to see it in that kind of way and to just bring it back to themselves. Because the thing is, what is disclosure? It's not something outside of you. It's not something, it's the same thing with ascension. Is that something outside of you? Is disclosure supposed to come from somebody we put on a pedestal or somebody we expect to handle it all perfectly? Or are we our own disclosure in ascension? So if we can take that task upon ourselves and work those energies within ourselves, then we're playing a role and we're being an influencer. We're being a creator and we are playing our part. We're being in our purpose. And we're also helping those that have been publicly vocal about their purpose achieve their goals. Because if we can't hold space for them, we are almost throwing them into a ditch and saying, you know what, you said that and it didn't come out right and I can't believe you're doing that. So therefore, you belong over here. It's the very system we're trying to freaking take down that I don't want to see the ascension or disclosure movement becoming. Because it's the same thing with festivals, hippie festivals. It's like you're trying to, and I'm not trying to, brand this on any kind of person or festival, but I'm just saying when you see a movement happen, but it's just doing the same thing, but with different terminologies and different clothing, but it's the same kind of pattern, same sort of model. I can't dig that personally. And so I think that we're heading towards a huge breakthrough where a lot of the old paradigm scenarios, we're going to stop them from being the new paradigm model, which is what New World Order is. New Age deceptions, false disclosure. We have to all be very careful that we don't end up in that trap. We have to break the bonds with this is how it should be, and we need to appoint some sort of leader, or we need to point this person on a pedestal. We're all learning some major lessons here. We need to be the empowered people that say, I'm ascension, I'm disclosure.
Well, at this point, but Laura, at this point in our ascension, are we ready for it? Can we handle it?
If we can have open ears for each other, because the one thing that shuts us down is when somebody tells us, we're not going to listen to your story. That sounds completely ridiculous. We have to stop putting people in positions where your story is going to make money and yours isn't. Everybody has equal rights here. I mean, how we market it or leverage it is up to the individual. So I'm not saying that one person is running the narrative either.
Right.
But we don't have enough information just yet. So the best thing that we can do is hold love and respect for each other, listen to each other's story, whether we have proof or not, and not try and be a controller force. And we also have to realize that some people are going to want to play that role because they think it's important, but we don't have to make them the bad guy either. You know, everybody is equalizing their personality natures. You know, we all have outer personalities. We could all be like at a party together and it's like, okay, well, I had a great conversation with her. And it's like, I can't believe he said that. It's like, but beyond the surface stuff, who are we on a soul level and spiritual level? Can we say hello to each other on that level so that the rest can fall away? Because if we get lost in translation with the outer stuff, we might lose sight of the deeper intention that some of these people are carrying. And that's across the board for all of us, you know, and whatever is the, you know, main focal, like, you know, I even made fun of it like it's a soap opera, you know, with a cliffhanger. Okay, well, who's going to be the thing that has attention right now? You know, we got to drop that. We got to drop the drama stuff. That's a really low vibration. We have to just say, okay, we don't know who's being played or manipulated. But I think we all have a common goal, you know, and that's the same thing when we look at like world politics. Everybody wants to take care of their family on some level. And if you don't, then you're a schmuck. So those that really care about the earth and family, regardless of your race, regardless of your disposition in life, let's come together. That will weed out the ones that are raping and pillaging and treating everybody like shit. And it's not about women being the victim, men are being just as a victim too. But if we can come together with a common purpose and goal, saying these are the values and the things that we care about most, it's going to allow what doesn't belong there to be removed. And we're too prematurely throwing stones and daggers, I think, and we need a little bit more time. And because we need a little bit more time, we need to prevent drama, and we need to just, you know, give mutual love and respect, because that's a vibration that if you're not willing to be in a unified field, you're not going to last.
Right.
But let's give you the benefit of the doubt, and it'll speak for itself, because, you know, there's no robber, thief, or betrayer or manipulator that can hand, you know, I did a stupid, sorry to refer to stupid Facebook post, but I had to joke about this. What if I killed them with kindness and they actually died? That would be awkward. I remember I posted that on Facebook. It's like, but that's on them, right? You've given them kindness. And the reason that phrase is there is because they can't handle that frequency. So why do we have to lower our vibration to this battle or this darkness that is permeating the community? Let's just give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Let's just hold a high vibration and trust that, and that might not be the solution. I'm not like, hey, I got all the answers. It's just my part, or what I want to uphold is I'm not going to form a fixed belief just yet. I don't have enough information. But when I do have enough information and I got that trigger of responsibility to share it on a public level, I will. But at least I can admit that I'm not at that place just yet. And I want to hold space for everybody to at least come to terms with what they've gone through, what their part is, what they might be compromised by or manipulated by, or what they might be struggling with even on a personality ego level. But we have to be transparent here, or else we're just acting out or allowing something behind us to play us like a pawn. And this is what disclosure is to me. Not about ETs. How can we free ourselves from these dark agendas so that we can be sovereign?
And the other part of that, and listening to that, because I feel that you're spot on, is when the media decided to grab hold of the ET question and discuss UFOs last year. It's been a year now. I can't even believe it. You know, we're sitting here on October 23rd. December of last year, when the day of disclosure. That were you surprised that we handled it pretty well? I mean, as far as I know, nobody jumped off any buildings, right? The Vatican didn't vaporize, and Wall Street didn't collapse, and we didn't run amok in the streets, and it seemed like we handled that UFO news pretty solid.
Right. I mean, I think there's so many people that have had experiences that the general consensus is like, phew, well, that's good.
Right. You think it's that simple? I do, actually. Do you think it's that simple?
It is, but it's like, it's one of those like secrets. They're just so silly because, I mean, who are you fooling? I mean, this is a mass. This isn't just, oh, there's like 10 people it happened to. We're talking thousands and millions.
Right. You know what's funny? The day that that happened on a Saturday, on Sunday, Rita and I were over at our brother-in-law, her brother's house, sitting, and where, Laura, I swear, we have never, they all know what I do for a job. They know what Rita does, but we have never talked UFOs, right? But now it's all over the news and Fox and CNN and it's UFOs. And so we're over there having dinner, and I sit down with my sister-in-law, Laura, who I adore. She's just so smart. But we never talked UFOs. And it comes up. And she looked at me, and I said, so what do you think? She goes, come on. We know there's aliens, right? You know, she was so nonchalant about it. We ended up talking quite extensively, but I was shocked. I'm serious too. It goes back to your point. So many have had these experiences, you know, it's in the millions. And I don't know if we've now been so indoctrinated through Hollywood and everything else about it, you know, the movie Independence Day. But my sister-in-law's reaction, for me, it was glorious. She was like, whatever. You know, it was like, wow. You know, well, is that the barometer of the rest of the planet? You know, is that a gauge of what everybody is looking at when it comes to this?
Well, I've been doing readings for probably I'd like to say a decade, and then I'm like, oh, I'm like, I love getting older, because then it's like, oh, I've been doing this for more than 10 years. But you know what's so interesting is a lot of my clients, I mean, the majority of my clients have all experienced this kind of stuff, but they're like, I can't talk about it. I can't tell anybody. But I'm like, if you were to actually give it a voice, there might be 2 people in the room that are like shut down, but there might be 20 people in the room that are like, me too. Oh my gosh. Oh God, I can't even say me too without getting freaked out by the Me Too movement, but you know. But it's so widespread, and there's so many different layers to it. And it's so a part of our reality that it's as limiting as putting a advanced child, which all children are when they're born, in a school system. You know, and then all of a sudden saying, hey, let's talk about how you felt before you entered this system. And then they're like, oh gosh, you know, my imagination was wild and I went through all. Nobody holds space for that. But if somebody at an early age for those children did that, everybody would light up in the room. So I feel like humanity is going through an inner child awakening where we're being brought back to something that we understood the minute we were born, and it got stolen from us through vaccinations, through indoctrination, through school systems and parental insecurities because they have to live up to a status. And what's happening here is that people are like, I'm talking about what feels natural to me. I'm talking about what I've always known. And I've never felt permission to say it because I can't stand how it feels to be judged and ridiculed and bullied or projected upon. And so it's not that people are really waking up to ETs. They're learning to knock down the barriers of other people's bullshit that have bought into the programmings. Oh, I did say the S. I was like, I didn't cuss this whole thing, but BS is different, right?
That's actually, that's number 2 for you tonight.
What?
Yeah. Everybody's keeping score, by the way, in Twitter. You just need to know. I don't even need to think about it. They're on top of your game here, Laura.
It's such a silly thing to think about, and it's at my fault for bringing attention to it. But you know what I mean, though, right?
I do, and I feel good about where we are at right now. But there seems to be. It's like I can put my hands out and palms out and just kind of feel that there's something happening. I feel the energy where I wouldn't be surprised if something happens tomorrow. I would not be shocked. I really wouldn't.
I hear you. It's like, I mean, it's like nothing shocking anymore. It's just more like, I'm sorry, I was just taking a nap and you just woke me up. It's like, Right. Not woke up as in consciousness wise. It's like we have this little puppy here, and every time we need to move it, it's like it's shocked because it needs to move, but it doesn't mean that it's not this advanced being if it were left to its own devices. And so there's a difference between people that naturally have an open mind, that are wishing to be authentic. I don't think we realize that open mind and being authentic go hand in hand. Being open-minded doesn't mean just accept anything that anybody tells you. Being open-minded means that you're willing to return to the truth of who you are, as far as I'm concerned.
And listen, keep your ears open. Listen, that's another concern that I have, Laura, and I'm a victim of this. People talk too much, right? They don't listen, and I talk too much. Sometimes I find myself falling into that same trap. But that's having an open mind is, shutting your mouth sometimes, just observing and listening.
You listen good, Jimmy.
Thank you, Kevin.
Do you think you'd be able to be where you're at right now? I mean, I talk too much too. I mean, even when I listen to my voice, I'm like, you sound like you're 12 years old. You're really annoying. You're talking, and I don't really enjoy hearing myself talk. A lot of times I'm like, I can't believe that my profession, I have to talk so much. It's like, I don't really want to hear myself. I want to hear other people. But I figure if I'm talking a lot, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is to encourage people to talk too. So that makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And you know what? You have one of the most classic voices ever. And I don't think any of us are like having a problem with you talking too much. It's just like, don't ever stop, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah. Well, say that to Rita. She walks around with her fingers in her ear.
So overwhelmed. I'm like, I try and ration my passion and my talking. I'm like, okay, so we'll just do a little bit, maybe between, not like I will schedule it, but I mean, I literally can see myself through his eyes. And it's just like, can you just shut up?
I never think that.
But I always listen to him too. So we're on radio, so let's not go there. But anyway.
Thank you so much. And Kevin, thank you for taking care of her. And you guys are the best. And I see it in the both of you, and I love hanging out. And I can't wait for the next chance for Rita and I, the four of us, to go out and do something once again. So just thank you so much.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun, Jimmy. Love to do that.
Thank you so much, Kevin. And you guys enjoy the rest of your night, okay? And have a safe trip to Albuquerque and have fun out there, and say hi to everybody. All of our friends are there.
See you in Washington, though?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
No. That weekend, I'm on coast to coast. I'm at 11:11. I'm over at coast to coast, and I'm completely bummed. You don't think I want to be on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial hanging out with you? But instead, I'm at coast to coast.
Well, we'll link up somehow, and thank you so much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it, and much love to both of you.
Yeah, maybe I can Skype.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. You got my number, and you got. I mean, you're more connected to these guys than, it'd be kind of like a bummer if you weren't there, but I don't want to say that because then. It's like we would create a bummer. It's like, no.
I know. And when we were scheduling things, and then I came home and cracked open the calendar and I saw what was going on, it's, there you go. I'm at coast. I have to work. So, there it is. But
I get it. But it's a unified field and shit.
There it is. Number three just came in from Laura Eisenhower. Kevin, you two have a great night. Laura, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you. And
thank you both.
Thank you. And Laura's website, of course, is cosmicgaia.org. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. Thank you to everybody that was hanging out on Twitter tonight. It was absolutely phenomenal. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, Nick Redfern. Until then, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tepe.